Maybe.
What's up?
Do you remember how happy we'd be when we'd get 1 subscriber?
Yeah, I remember we had
high
like
five and
10 subscribers. We were like,
yes, we're on our way. So after we did the last video,
Trooper Proctor,
it went wild.
It did explode.
Thank you to the fans, right? We were a small channel. We're still a small channel. And it just went berserko, dude.
Yes. So we would like to thank everyone out there, not just America, but the world. Because Australia, we see you. Canada, we got you.
Yeah.
England.
Hey, mate. Oh, no, it's
Russia, they watch us? Probably.
Japan did.
Japan?
Yeah.
People are watching. So we are humbled and we are honored that you chose us to watch and get all your feedback and our feedback for the Proctor or the Karen retrial.
Yeah.
We started this channel
for the truth
11 months ago, just because even though we were retired, we felt like we still had something to give the world. And we have a lot of experience. So we wanted to do the channel to help people always show the truth, show that there's good cops out there, because there are a lot of great cops out there, show that there's bad cops out there.
Good citizens, bad citizens.
Right. Ultimately, we always want to find out the truth, because the truth
will set you free.
Will set you free.
Yeah.
So that's why we did the channel. So we appreciate all the love, all the new subs. We are going to keep going.
Yeah.
And we hope you stick with us.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of other videos that you might like.
Yeah.
So I know not everybody likes shooting videos, but Gonzo and I tell a lot of crazy, true stories of what we did in all those videos.
Yeah.
So sometimes you never know what we're going to say. You never know what you're going to hear.
Yeah.
So
stay tuned.
Yes. Sure. And before we get to Trooper Paul, a little house cleaning. First off, I want to say Trooper Proctor was not a lieutenant.
We got to correct it real quick.
Correct. Sorry. My bad. He's not a lieutenant. He was just a trooper. But he was the lead investigator.
He gone.
He gone. He gone.
He gone.
We would like to thank Jonathan Jacobs, the best realtor in Las Vegas. He owns Simply Vegas. This is where we film our episodes. If you want to buy a house, best realtor around. Before you even buy a dog house, you go see Jonathan Jacobs, Simply Vegas.
He might hook you up with a dog house too.
He sold me every house I own.
He might even buy a dog house for your new house.
He might. He might. Also, get your butt down to Zangief Jiu-Jitsu. Get your butt kicked. It's good for you. My coach, Gabriel Checo, is offering 1 week for free. And if you sign up, you get a free gi. So that's worth about $150, $200 bucks. If you say LVCopsTV sent you.
Yeah.
So go on down there. Hey, if you want to roll with me, I'm there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 10 a.m.
Yep.
All right.
Get that done. So
what
a lot of requests were Trooper Paul, right?
Yes.
He's a accident reconstruction officer, right?
He is. He is.
So my brother retired Idaho State Police trooper as a commander. And those boys reconstructed all of their accidents themselves, right?
Right.
So I let him look at this video. And he said he cut a lot of corners, right?
I'm completely shocked.
And this is what he said. He said, listen, when there's a trooper involved in an accident, we did every reconstruction that was possible. So when we went to court, we wouldn't be looking like this guy, right?
Correct.
Even if the accident, if the reconstruction, the procedure wasn't really conducive to what they were looking at, they'd still do it just so they can CYA their ass.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
We did the reconstruction. We ran that scenario. It was not what it didn't give us any numbers that were usable. Right. But they still ran through every possible.
You have to. You have a dead officer.
Somebody,
Even if you dead anybody, it doesn't just have to be an officer.
You have to do your due diligence to make sure that you cover all your bases.
I agree.
Dot your T's and cross your I's.
I agree.
Dot your I's and cross your T's. Yeah.
I can't believe I missed that.
Yep. So there you go. So we're gonna roll this guy.
Okay? Yeah, let's do it. Roll it, Steve-O.
So you have
177.
Do you hold any degrees in the scientific discipline of mathematics?
I do not.
Do you hold any degrees in the scientific discipline of physics?
I do not.
Hold any degrees in the scientific discipline of biomechanics?
No.
How about in engineering?
No.
How about in kinematics?
No.
What's the highest degree that you do hold, sir?
I have an associate's degree.
No, God! No, God, please!
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Thanks, Steve.
I agree,
You
Steve.
mentioned kinematics on Friday. Do you hold any certificates in the specific area of kinematics?
Yes, it's covered in the basic crash investigation classes.
Okay, so you took a class, in other words, correct?
Multiple classes.
They introduced the idea of what kinematics is, right?
Correct.
You testified about that on Friday.
Yes.
Define kinematics for the jurors.
It deals with the aspect of motion.
It's a subfield of what broader field?
Kinematics.
Kinematics is a subfield of what broader discipline of science?
I'm not sure.
Big physics, correct?
Yes.
And it describes how points and objects and systems of objects, how they move, and how the rate they move and the rate of their velocity, correct?
Yes, velocity.
It deals with emotions.
What's that called? The rate of velocity. What's another word for that?
The rate of velocity.
Correct.
I mean, it deals with motion. It deals with forward, and also deals with speed. It deals with travel and speed. If something's moving, it also has a speed to it.
Right. The word you're looking for is acceleration, correct?
Sure.
There you go.
Sure, if you say so.
Acceleration play in the field of kinematics.
What role does acceleration play in kinematics?
That's what I felt like just now.
Like you just said, it talks about the speed and talks about motion.
Is kinematics also known as the geometry of motion? Is that correct?
I have not heard that.
Never heard that. What's the difference between constrained and unconstrained motion?
Constrained and unconstrained motion.
That's what I asked.
Constrained motion. I can't recollect at the moment.
Constrained motion is motion on a predetermined path, isn't it?
Yes.
Unconstrained motion is what?
When it doesn't have a predetermined path.
Free movement, right?
Correct.
Good to remember that from your class?
For the most part, we don't go that in depth, constrained and unconstrained.
Constrained and unconstrained, not restrained.
That's what I said. Sorry, unconstrained. Yes.
Kinematics uses algebraic formula to model these motions, right? The motions of these points, systems of points, correct?
Yes.
And it includes concepts like displacement and speed, velocity, distance, acceleration, which we've talked about, correct?
Correct.
And it looks at how these things, these values vary over a point in time, or duration in time. Is that right?
Yes.
Do you actually understand the physics behind the study of kinematics?
Yes.
The word you learned in class.
Yes, we had to go over the physics part of it.
On Friday, you said that this incident is a pedestrian strike from a vehicle. You reiterated that again this morning. Is that right?
Correct.
I want to be clear. That is your opinion based on your training and experience, correct?
Yes.
And on Friday, you said you based that opinion on the fact that you noted a half-mile-an-hour decrease in speed and a steering input of less than 10 degrees at some point in that reverse motion, correct?
I said that was consistent. That data point in general was consistent with something that you would see within data of a pedestrian striker striking something else. I do go in my report saying I can't say that's definitely where a pedestrian was struck, but
I'm sorry, I can barely.
it wasn't definitively. Sorry, in my report I do say I can't say that is definitively where the pedestrian struck.
You cannot say it.
Definitively.
So you're going to have to
Definitively.
slow down and
Definitively.
speak up, okay?
Slow down. Think it over.
All right.
Hey, Steve, you want to pause it real quick for a second? So let me tell you this, or ask you this. How many times have you been to court in your career?
A lot.
Right?
A lot.
And they give you time, right?
Yeah.
And your attorneys kind of prep you,
Oh, they should.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I can guarantee you that this attorney knows more about accident reconstruction than
And Trooper Paul.
Paul does, because he
I
was
agree.
all over the place.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? If I knew I was going to court for a reconstruction accident that's this big, boy, I'd be going through my little notes,
Study everything.
everything,
Know everything.
because everything's going to be overturned.
Preparation is key.
Yeah.
Preparation is key.
And especially to the jurors.
Absolutely, because now
Right.
he looks like an idiot.
Yeah.
You're
We're-
the expert.
We're
and
only
you
5
see
minutes into this, and I'm like, holy
Yeah.
macaroni.
5 minutes in, and already I don't feel like he's an expert at anything.
I wonder how long he's been an expert for. People in the comments, do you know how long he's been a reconstruction
Expert,
quote unquote?
Let us know.
Let us know.
When did he take that class?
Yeah, he should have said, "I am certified in mechanics."
Kinetics? Definitively kinetics. Definitively.
I feel your pain, Trooper Paul. All right, let's roll it.
Correctly, and I apologize.
Mechanics.
Okay.
You said you cannot say definitively that that resulted in a pedestrian strike.
Cannot say the word
That
definitively.
data point within the text stream data is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
That specific point, that time frame.
Because there's a multitude of reasons why when someone is driving in reverse, they might slow down by a half a mile an hour, right?
It's when I say when it's consistent, it's because there's the other aspects of it is the fact that the accelerator is consistently strong.
Let him answer. Finish your answer.
So the accelerator is at a constant rate, and then it just drops
He
by
talks
half
like
a
I
mile.
do, man.
And the steering wheel all of a sudden abruptly goes to the right. That's what I'm talking about when I say it is
You're not an idiot.
consistent with a pedestrian strike. That's something that you would see. It's not going to be a huge change of speed during this collision.
You also note that at the time, it had begun to snow, correct?
Yes,
There would be snow on the lawn, right?
correct.
There would be snow on the cars,
Yes,
snow on the trees,
yes,
snow on the roadway.
yes,
Snow on the roadway could impact how tires move over the roadway, correct?
in a way.
And obviously, there are a multitude of reasons why somebody might input a 10-degree input on a steering wheel, correct?
Correct. That's why I said I couldn't definitely say it.
Right. So
Give me-
every
give me a
time
pause,
somebody
Steve.
slows down,
Philadelphia, Idaho. In wintertime, dude, when there's slush on the road and it happens to freeze, even going forward, it's gonna move your car by itself, right?
Sliding all over the place,
right?
man.
Now imagine going backwards, right? Maybe a little intoxicated, right?
Okay.
So even though you're going backwards and now you're trying to maintain a straight line in a slushy or even frozen road with those ruts, it doesn't take much to have a 10% deviation in your
Yeah.
steering wheel. Dude.
Correct. Yeah.
You could do that just by leaning over
and
and looking back,
Right.
right?
He said that she was doing 24 miles an hour. That is really fast
Yeah.
in reverse. Like
Yeah.
that, nobody goes 24 miles an hour in reverse. And it would actually be hard. I think it would be hard. Maybe we'll have to test it. I think it would be really hard to steer
We
at
don't-
24 miles an hour in
We don't
reverse.
have any snow here.
No, I know, but just to do that and try to hit somebody,
Yeah.
you know, and then with the snow added, yeah, it's I don't know.
It's dicey.
It is. It is.
going in reverse
Go ahead,
or
177.
forward, and introduces a 10-degree input on the steering wheel, doesn't mean they're looking to hit a pedestrian, correct?
Correct.
You
Yeah.
testified that you determined
A bump in the road.
the area of impact by basically following, if I heard your testimony correctly, basically following the debris field from the body from where you believed John O'Keefe's body's final resting place was, almost linearly to the furthermost piece of debris that was found. Did I get that right?
Yes.
In other words, you established what in your mind, or what you were told was his final resting place, and what you were told was the debris field. And you indicated that the furthermost piece of debris would basically be the area, right?
It's within that line. I didn't say that is the area impact where the furthermost piece of evidence is.
All right.
It's just the linear, like you said earlier. It's that linear. We're going that path. That's the path that he traveled post impact with the vehicle.
And that is on which that fact that you stated is on which terrible question. That's the basis for your opinion of where the area of impact was, correct?
Yes.
Let's take a look at exhibit, with the court's permission, 587. It's your diagram 3. If I may approach Your Honor, just for
Okay.
He's nervous, dude. That's a big sigh right there, dude. Big deep breath.
Yeah. He's got a big head, doesn't he? Is it
You
me?
should have all those vocabulary words stuck in there, man.
He's got a big head. Should be a smart
Your Honor,
dude.
we
Big
privilege,
brains.
Exhibit 587. diagram 3.
Yes.
Okay. Sir, you see diagram 3 on the board. You also have it in front of you, correct?
Yes.
It's easier for you to refer to what's in front of you because that's a little bit further away. Just let me know.
Okay.
The red arrows adjacent to the blue writing, where I'm highlighting right now, indicate basically the debris field that you explained to the jurors on Friday, correct?
Yes.
And then there's a point of an arrow that comes back to a wording that says pedestrian's final rest, basically right there, correct?
Yes.
And the debris field ends right in the middle of that spotlight, correct?
Yes.
All right. So that's the area of impact that you indicated to Mr. Lally you believe occurred because of the debris field in the linear portion of that debris field going from the pedestrian's final rest all the way out to that final little red arrow that says red plastic B in parentheses, correct?
Yes.
Jonah, can we have exhibit 492 published to the juror, please?
Okay.
Approach.
Yes.
While that's coming up, have you ever seen this?
No, I haven't.
Whoa. It's called a fire hydrant.
Just above the arrow. You're gonna
They're all over the city. They use to put out fires.
magnify the area just above the arrow.
Okay.
You see that
Yes, I do.
right underneath fire hydrant, correct?
Correct.
What does that look like to you?
A piece of plastic.
It's debris, correct?
Correct.
Can we go back with the court's permission to exhibit 87,
Okay.
diagram 3? You see the fire hydrant?
Yes.
Fire
That
hydrant.
that makes no sense.
Correct.
that
He
it's
sees
there.
it now.
That's another, according to your scale, that's probably a good 30 feet from the pedestrian's final rest, correct?
Yeah, that's about right.
That is the furthermost in this diagram, the furthermost piece of debris.
Something don't look right, Gonzo.
Dude, it doesn't look right.
Correct.
So now,
Maybe they'll fix it.
We're going to get to a pause here in a second. I'm going to ask you some questions.
the area of impact.
No,
Why not?
because it's just a piece of debris. I'm talking about the path. You follow the path of debris field. Debris can move and change.
The debris doesn't fly backward, does it?
I'm saying you pointed to like just the fire hydrant as the area impact where the debris, where that one piece of plastic was, saying that's the area impact is right next to the fire hydrant.
Are you asking me a question?
Yeah, that's what you said, right?
I'm asking you.
I'm making sure I'm understanding what
I asked the questions here, sir.
Madouche.
Right.
Ask the question again, Mr. Jackson.
In fact, you indicated on Friday that your analysis of the area of impact was predicated on, based on, the furthermost piece of debris from the pedestrian's body that you were aware of, which is right there. Red plastic B, correct?
I said I said you said earlier with the linear equation. I mean, it might have moved it over more, but it's the debris, the start of that debris, and where that is. I can't say that's definitely the point
Brie?
of area
Brie.
impact. Or
Start of the
point
brie.
Unless you're talking about
I
cheese.
cannot say that is the point of impact right there. You just kind of follow the linear path because they have to follow in a direct path that way.
Okay, so now your testimony is that's not the area of impact.
I never said that was the area impact. I said it's after that.
Trooper, we were all here on Friday.
Okay.
That's exactly what you said under questioning by Mr. Lally, wasn't it?
Objection.
Sustained.
Didn't you say on Friday that you determined the area of impact for Mr. O'Keefe, the point of impact, was red plastic B because that was the furthermost piece of debris you were aware of from the final point of rest from Mr. O'Keefe's body. Isn't that what you said?
I don't believe that's my exact words.
Okay, I'm not asking if it was your exact words. I don't have a transcript of it. I'm asking you, is that what you tried to impart to the jurors?
What I said to the jury, I said after that. That's the start of, that's the last point of evidence that I had. I said the area impact is probably along the roadway after that point. I mean, like before it, if you have to walk towards him.
I'm sorry, I keep doing that because I think you're done. Are you done?
I am done now.
Now
Diarrhea.
You are done.
Yeah, dude.
debris looks like tail
Wow.
material right under the fire hydrant, correct?
Correct.
If the area of impact, which you indicated on Friday was where this red plastic B is, you would be wrong, right? Your analysis would be flawed.
No, because that's not what I said. I said it's along the roadway, and it's going to be after that point.
Okay, so is the area of impact now where the fire hydrant is?
Objection.
Ask it differently.
Are you now indicating, because now you realize that there's a piece of debris directly under the fire hydrant, are you now indicating that that's the area of impact where John O'Keefe's body was struck?
Objection.
Sustained.
Fucking judge.
Let's take a look at exhibit, with the court's permission, 279.
That's what people
They're
are
all
saying.
related, dude.
That's what they're saying.
She was renting the house to one of those officers, something like that.
Yeah. Beach house.
Taking a look at exhibit 279, I want to draw your attention to that piece right there of plastic. You see it?
Yes.
You describe it for me. Just physically, what does that look like?
Looks like clear plastic with a little bit of red and black on the top part.
Okay, maybe in a triangular shape, is that fair?
Correct.
Okay. Now, if we could go back
Like an
to,
old shark's tooth, huh?
with the court's permission, exhibit 492,
Okay.
and highlight just above the ruler. How would you describe that piece of material?
Just chilling.
It looks like the same piece.
Looks like the same piece.
Does that appear to be part of the taillight material that was found at the scene?
Correct.
Okay. Now, based on that, are you now suggesting, if we could go with the court's permission, if we could go back to 587, I'll stop jumping around just a second. I think we
Okay.
just get back to 587. Oh, sorry, the diagram 3. Thanks. Okay. Now, seeing what you just now seen in terms of that piece of plastic that appears to be from the taillight, does that appear to be under the fire hydrant, which is highlighted? Same piece.
Yes.
Okay. Based on that, does that change your opinion? Is that now the fire hydrant now the point of impact?
No.
Where is the point of impact now?
It's along the roadway. I don't know the exact point of impact.
He's sticking to the story,
So
isn't
you
he?
don't know the area of impact.
I said the area of impact is along the roadway after the debris.
Okay.
I mean, only thing it would change, only thing it would change is maybe it was a little further away. But besides that, it's a linear field. I'm not talking about like one point. You kind of follow the middle of the debris field, and that should be the path.
Well, if the point of impact is along the roadway, where along the roadway, if you can show the jurors where along the roadway, in your expert opinion,
Let me ask you something. In our career, we've been to a lot of vehicle pedestrian accidents, right?
A lot. I mean, hundreds.
And
Maybe
from my
more.
experience, the debris field usually stays contained. It doesn't, unless it's a high velocity impact, right?
Yeah.
Then you see shit fly everywhere,
Correct.
right? And it's not in a linear line. It's an explosion.
Yep.
It's everywhere. So that doesn't make no sense to me,
Well,
especially on a slow impact like that, because it's really going to stay right there.
yeah, 24 miles an hour, it's not going to spray like crazy, especially hard plastic. And an object in motion stays in motion until acted upon. So when whatever hit the vehicle, everything moved, right, was flying through the air, it's going to go until something acts upon it, or it's just going to keep going. So they're right in a linear line. He's correct. But a piece to come all the way back and go to the fire hydrant?
Yeah, but wait,
That's impossible.
But the objects were stopped by the officer getting hit.
Correct. When he
So-
gets hit, everything's not going to fly as far, right? Because his body is actually dampering
The velocity of the objects.
right? So the acceleration is slowing down by him. So it's not going. It shouldn't be 30, 40 feet away from him. It's going to be. You should be able to tell about the point of impact.
Yeah, for sure.
And that piece of the fire hydrant, that does not. That's
The math isn't mathing.
the
boy.
math isn't mathing. It's not, man. That would defy the laws of physics. That means everything went this way, and one piece went. Woo!
Well, you have to understand. Paul doesn't understand physics from his.
Well,
You took a
Maybe
class.
he did take a class. Maybe he thinks it could defy the
All
laws
right.
of
Roll it, buddy.
physics in Canton.
What's the point of impact?
It should be within, if you follow from pedestrian's final rest here, just kind of follow back. That's what I'm talking about, linear field. I can,
So now you've indicated an area, I can follow your laser pointer, an area along here, correct?
yes, somewhere in there.
All right, if I have my spotlight, is that, if I leave it right there, is that about where the middle of the spotlight, about where you believe the area of impact is?
It's within, I guess you can say it's within that area. I don't know, definitely there's nothing on the roadway that has a definitive point that says this is the area impact right here. It's within the roadway based on the evidence at the scene.
Okay, Trooper Paul, I'm asking you, based on your expert opinion and your conclusions, based on your full analysis, can you point me to within an area of 5 feet or so on the roadway where you believe the area of impact is?
You should be able to do this.
Yep.
Basically highlighting the area that you believe, in your opinion, is the area of impact.
Do you have that laser pointer?
I do.
Why don't
Come
we
on,
let him
man.
show you?
Not
It'd be
rocket
easier for
science.
you to
Show him
see.
where he got hit.
So what I'm trying to
Jeez.
say is, so we follow the linear path back around this area.
Okay.
And sorry, I'm trying to
Holy
keep it straight
moly.
as much as I
He's
can.
nervous.
He's very nervous.
Follow back to here. I can't say like if this is definitely is, but it's possibly based on also vehicle damage to the back of the vehicle. So if you follow all the way back to here, that could be a possible area impact.
Anywhere in that 30, 40 feet.
40 feet.
That area there, I want to be very
Back here because of damage to the vehicle. What does that got to do with
highlighted is an area
place?
basically just to the left of an X that's on the roadway, on the bottom of diagram 3, toward the lower part of diagram 3,
It's
correct?
you would use your circle almost to kind of be a good area around.
Sorry, you need to.
You can use a circle around here. Just this would be around the area.
Okay.
Okay.
So using your scale, that scale is going from full left to full right. It's plus or minus 40 feet, right?
Switch. Can't see it. So say again. Say the question.
That scale is 40 feet, going full left, full right, 40 feet.
It's 40 feet. It's a 10-foot scale.
Okay, sorry, 20 feet, my mistake.
That was okay.
Eyes are terrible. 20 feet, thank you. All right, so if you use that scale, can you estimate for the jurors, I'm just going to use this X as a starting point. You estimate for the jurors from this X that I've highlighted to the pedestrian's final rest. What's that number? Doesn't have to be exact. Give me an estimate.
So, I mean, it could be within 30 feet because I tell you this. Also on my scale, this 2 and 3 is 50 feet from each other.
It's how much?
50.
Okay.
50.
It's 50.
So would you agree that from this X down here to the pedestrian's final rest, as the crow flies, that's probably a good 35, 40 feet.
I mean, I could try to use the scale, but it's me as a scale.
If you wouldn't mind.
Dude, you would know exactly.
You need a piece of paper?
He should have been out there enough. He should have everything out there memorized.
Yeah.
This should be already done.
Yeah.
The fact that he's taken 20 minutes for a simple little diagram, he doesn't even know where the point of impact is utterly ridiculous. He is not a reconstruction expert. I'm sorry. He's not. He's maybe done a couple of
You would use what's known.
accidents, but
You would use what's known, right? The fire hydrant is a known location.
Mhm.
You can use that as a
and it's
reference.
a fixed
point.
location.
Right.
You
Yeah.
can't move the fire hydrant,
No.
right? It's fixed.
You can use that as a
The trees
reference.
are fixed, right? The house is fixed.
You can
the-
triangulate. I mean, triangulate where the body is
Correct.
by those points, and you know
Yeah.
exactly where it's at.
It's not that difficult.
Yeah.
We don't do reconstruction.
Knock it off.
If you would not mind, use the scale, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Let's use the scale. Bring my man some paper.
He should know that diagram like the back of his hand.
Should be memorized. He shouldn't need to do this, right?
No.
With a piece of paper, let me measure the scale. Dude, you should have measured that stuff. You should know all those numbers by heart. You should know that scene like an expert, because you are an expert.
Thank you.
Well,
Right. He's thinking again. He's thinking again.
He should use known locations. The fire hydrant, trees,
Yeah.
stuff that you
measure it.
cannot move.
Yeah. He should know. Fire hydrant to the tree, 18 feet. Fire hydrant to this, 16
And then you
feet.
triangulate.
Triangulate. Yes. It's not difficult at all. physics is difficult, but this part is not that difficult.
No. You should have a diagram with every measurement already on it.
They should make a bobblehead out of Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
With a hat.
So
His hat's
it's
probably
approximately
like
30 feet.
6XL.
Yes.
Okay. Can you place, with the court's permission, can you estimate 30 feet in here?
Can I estimate?
Can you point to a place in the courtroom that looks like it's 30 feet from you?
Objection.
No. Next question.
Does the court have a diagram of a diagram of distances?
In this courtroom? No.
You indicated just now, and I'm finished with this. Thank you. Thanks. You indicated just now, in answer to Mr. Lally's last couple of questions, that in your expert opinion, when the SUV struck pedestrian John O'Keefe, he was, quote, projected forward and to the left to the front yard to his final place of rest.
Yes.
So your expert testimony is that John O'Keefe was hit with the SUV and flew 30 feet.
Projected mean like I don't say he flew all the way there. He was projected in that way. He got pushed forward in that direction.
Which he was rendered incapacitated, landed there, and had to sort of fly there, right? Didn't walk there.
I mean, would you definitely flying like literally off the ground the whole entire time, or?
Well, you tell me. You're the expert.
I mean, he got
Exactly.
when we say projected, we mean
took
he's
classes.
projected, and they usually have a landing phase, and they land, and then they either roll or tumble to final rest.
Okay. How far do you think he landed? How far was it until he landed?
That is true.
Of that 30 feet.
I don't know. There's no indication of where his exact landing spot was.
Right. Was there any evidence whatsoever that he landed and rolled?
And there was no evidence that he landed or rolled. Or no, rolled.
According to you, the evidence that you have in front of you is that you get hit, fly 30 feet, land where he ended up at his final rest, right?
Objection.
Sustained. Ask it differently.
Based on your expert opinion, you believe that he was projected through the air to his final rest place.
That's not what I was saying.
But you said there's no evidence that he rolled.
And there's no evidence that he flew through the air either.
How do you get there?
Exactly.
They beamed him up.
Right?
He got placed there.
Transported.
He got
Objection.
placed there.
Sustained.
Do you think he got placed there? No.
You said on Friday that in
opinion.
your
They wouldn't
experience,
do that.
people tend to lose objects that are not strapped to them. Is that right?
Yes.
In other words, get hit by something, car, truck, bus, whatever, train, and if you have something in your hand, boom, you lose it, you drop it. If it's not strapped to you, correct?
Correct.
How do you suppose that Mr. O'Keefe, in your opinion, held on to that glass cup that was found right next to him over the course of 30 feet being projected?
Objection.
I'll allow it. Do you have a theory on that?
I don't know. I mean, it just could have been with him the whole way. I don't know. I wasn't there, so I don't know how the glass stayed with his body and went with him to the final rest.
So it's just common sense. You have to believe that if it was in his hand, he held on to it the entire time he was being projected 30 feet, right?
Yeah.
It could have been in his hand. It could have been tucked next to his clothing. Could
Did you say tucked into?
I mean, like, could have been next to his body. So when he projected, the glass was with his body as it was also flying. So there's a number of reasons why the glass also got projected with the body while he was holding it.
I thought you said on Friday, and you just agreed with me, that people drop things and they're hit.
Yes, body not everything it tends to fly off. I mean, some stuff flies off, some stuff will stay on.
I see.
It's not uncommon to find a piece of clothing and stuff, that you find at the scene.
Piece of clothing.
Like clothing, like shoes, like shoes and stuff like that to come off the body during a pedestrian crash.
Well, that's not what I asked.
I know, I'm just saying, you asked me, you said what I'm just responding to what you said. And trying to make sure you understand what I'm saying.
No, I don't. But
Nobody does, dude. Do you understand that?
Did I stutter?
shoes are strapped on by definition.
I was going to say, do you understand the words that are coming out of his mouth?
Very common.
Because I
To
don't.
come off.
How about a cell phone?
Cell phone, yeah. Yeah, it depends. Depends on where it is.
It was under his body.
Okay.
How do you account for that? He held onto his cell phone with one hand and held onto the cup with the other.
Objection.
Sustained. Ask it differently.
If his cell phone was found under his torso, under his body, what's your theory on how that cell phone ended up flying 30 feet with him?
You're the expert.
It just did.
Just did. And somehow, as he landed, tucked that cell phone underneath his body so he landed on top of it.
It just did. That's the evidence at the scene.
Was he face down or
I didn't put
face
the
up?
evidence there,
How was
so-
he? How was he positioned? I don't know.
Objection.
All right, so jurors.
And I don't
I've
think
told
there's
you
any
before,
pictures.
Lawyers cannot make comments.
I don't think so.
Disregard
Don't quote me
it.
on that,
Mr.
but-
Jackson, don't do it
I
again.
understand. So in
You
one-
understand,
he
but
said
don't do
placed
it.
it.
Your
Some-
answer's
somebody
always,
placed
I
it there.
understand. Don't do it.
Yes, Your Honor. Cell phone in one hand.
Yes, Aunt Bev. We should not do that.
Flew through the air. Right?
Objection.
Sustained.
Of course.
Can you pause that for a second, Steve?
What's up?
So he got hit.
Yep.
Flew, rolled, whatever, 28 feet
Allegedly.
allegedly.
Mhm.
The glass was next to him. The cell phone was under him.
Mhm.
I've been sideswiped before when I was riding my bike.
Your Harley?
Well, pedal bike. When I was 8.
Oh,
Okay. Dude, none of my stuff came off me.
No.
Right. And I got sideswiped pretty good. And I didn't go 28 feet. I just went wobbled and then tipped over,
Right.
you know?
Mm.
So this doesn't sound right to me. It doesn't look right to me. And he's doing a shit job trying to explain it to me.
I feel the same.
So
I feel the same. Yeah, he's really having a hard time getting the words out that he definitively
yeah,
wants to say
yeah,
to prove his point as the expert.
yeah.
But with that said, he has a story that
Yeah.
he's got to stick to, right?
Yeah.
He's got a script.
Yep.
Now, I'm not saying that anything was planted or anything like that, but it seems like he's got that story that he needs to stick to. So when Mr. Jackson is asking him stuff, he's like, oh, he's got to always remember to tie it back to that story.
That was probably told to him by
And that's
somebody.
very hard to do,
Yeah.
especially when you have to lie.
Yeah, it's
on
very
the
hard to
stand.
lie. Yeah.
It's very hard. That's why we always tell the truth. Easy to remember the truth. When you get on the stand, this should be the easiest. Cops, I love being on the
I do
stand. It
too.
doesn't bother me. I've been on the stand for an
Yeah.
hour, 2 hours. You're just chilling and you're telling the truth. What
Yeah.
happened? This is what happened. Answer the question.
Yeah.
It's very easy.
Yeah.
He's having a very hard time.
Man. Well, the problem is he's got a big head and all those thoughts are rattling around in there and he can't organize it.
Yeah, you got big
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
All right, Steve.
All right.
Shoes are strapped on by definition, right?
Yes, but it's very common for shoes to come off.
How about his cell phone?
Cell phone. Yeah. Yeah, it depends. Depends on where it is.
And it was under his body.
Okay.
How do you account for that? He held onto his cell phone with one hand and held onto the cup with the other.
Objection.
Sustained. Ask it differently.
See, watch what he says.
The
here,
cell
the
phone was
attorney.
found under his torso, under his body. What's your theory on how that cell phone ended up flying 30 feet with him?
It just did.
Just did. And somehow, as he landed, tucked that cell phone underneath his body so he landed on top of it.
It just did. That's the evidence at the scene. I didn't put the evidence there. So
Well, you didn't.
Objection.
All right, so jurors, I've told you before, lawyers cannot make comments.
But he wasn't
so
there when the body was
disregard it.
removed.
Mr. Jackson, don't do it
I
again.
understand. So in
He doesn't even know
Understand, but don't do
the
it. Your
orientation of the
answer's
body.
always, I understand. Don't do it.
He just,
Yes, Your Honor.
yeah, he has what he
Cell
has.
phone in one hand, cup in the other
Just
hand.
told the rest.
Flew through
Sounds
the
like.
air. Right?
Objection.
Sustained.
You were informed of this incident on January 29th, 2022 at about 2:30 in the afternoon. Is that right?
yes,
At the time you were working out of the CARS facility, which is
2:30 in the
located
afternoon.
He
on
was
West
found at
Grove
6:30
Street
in
in
the morning or
Middleborough.
6 in
Is
the
that
morning.
right?
yes,
By the way, that's a facility that has multiple garages. Sally ports, I don't know if they're called Sally ports, but garage bays, correct?
the mechanic shop are there.
The mechanic shop
Yes,
is, if you're going to review, for instance, for purposes of reconstruction, if you're going to review a vehicle, is the vehicle placed in those mechanics bays?
No, not there. That's for state police vehicles.
Okay, so where are the mechanics bays, sorry, reverse that. Where are the sally ports where you would do your analysis, your reconstruction, your review of the vehicle, inspections, things of that nature?
We don't have sally ports for that.
You don't have anything dedicated to that?
No, the only time we would use a sally port is the crime scene would have some sally ports that they would do to document their crime scene stuff. And I've gone there to do my inspections, but most of our inspections are done either at the tow yard or some type of facility for that.
Ultimately, was this SUV ever taken to the Middleborough facility?
Yes, it was.
Where was it placed?
There's a fenced-in area inside it's a fenced-in area
Is it outside or inside?
outside.
Okay. Did it remain outside in that fenced-in area the whole time?
I don't know the exact time. It was there for a while, then it got moved.
Where did it get moved to?
I'm not sure exactly where they moved it immediately after it left Middleborough.
Are you familiar with the Foxborough location at MSP?
Yes.
Does that have sally ports or bays for inspection and evaluation?
It has garages in it, but we wouldn't use them. We don't normally use those garages for inspections.
Is it possible to use those garages for inspection?
Why not?
It is possible.
Okay. It's happened before, correct?
I've not used the inspection in the garages.
But it's,
I'm going to ask you to keep your voice up and
Sorry,
speak
yes.
slowly.
but you know they could be used.
Sorry.
Sorry. You know that those bays could be used for inspections or analysis or evaluation if needed, correct?
Yes.
All right. Given the fact that the SUV that was being seized on January 29th was being seized as potential evidence, best practices would suggest that you want to get it in and out of the bad weather, the inclement weather as quickly
The
as
elements.
possible, correct? You wouldn't want to subject it to continued forces from nature like rain, wind, snow, sleet, hail, right?
Which will
That would be
contaminate the
beneficial,
evidence.
yes.
All right. You're aware that
This would
Foxborough-
take priority,
Foxborough
dude.
location
Priority.
And the Middleborough location with the mechanics bays are all closer to Dighton than Canton, right?
Both Foxborough.
What's that?
Foxborough-
What's that?
Foxborough and Middleborough are both closer to Dighton than Canton. In other words, you have to pass by, depending on which way you go, pass by Middleborough, pass by Foxborough to get to Canton.
So from where?
From Dighton.
Dude, you know the area, man. You know the area.
The vehicle was seized in
Yeah.
all going toward Canton. You pass by either Middleborough or Foxborough to get to Canton, right?
I don't believe you'd pass by Middleborough to get to Canton, but you pass by Foxborough.
All right. The car was not taken to Foxborough, was it?
No.
As a matter of fact, the car was taken basically double the distance all the way to Canton to that sally port, correct?
Objection.
Do you know that? Is that double the distance?
I don't know.
Did
the
he take it there or not?
distance. I knew it was in Canton.
And you know it's farther to Canton,
From Dighton, yes.
right? And you're also aware that because you've been to the scene, assuming correct, in the 34 Fairview,
Yes. Yes, I have.
and you've been to Canton PD,
Yes, I have.
you know that those two locations are about 3-4 minutes apart.
Yeah, I can say that.
I did say that. Would you say that?
When you started let me ask this a little bit different way. Before you began any review on this case, any physical review on this case or analysis on the case, you were told that there had been a crash, correct?
Yes.
You testified to that at the state court grand jury in this matter. Is that right? That you've been told in advance this was a vehicle pedestrian crash and you were asked to analyze it, right?
Yes.
You wrote in your report that it was a single vehicle collision involving a pedestrian and you were, quote, assigned to reconstruct that collision, correct?
Yes.
So when you began your analysis, Trooper Paul, you were told conclusively by the lead investigator, Michael Proctor, that the deceased was hit by a car and your job was to reconstruct it. Is that right?
Objection.
Okay, so there are lots of
Make it
parts
happen.
to that. Break it down.
Sure.
Make this, match that.
By Michael Proctor
That's your job.
to reconstruct this incident.
Objection.
So were you told that by Trooper Proctor?
I
Of course
wasn't.
they're going to reconstruct it.
Question?
Sure. Who are you told?
Okay.
Who are you given your,
Yes, they don't.
your instructions by
Instructions for what?
to reconstruct this incident?
I wasn't given instructions to reconstruct it. It's just I was assigned to it.
Right.
That was requested. My assistance was requested to reconstruct it.
That's my question. Who assigned you to it?
I talked to my sergeant at the time who gave me the phone call.
And you were told some basics about that reconstruction, the event that you were asked to reconstruct, correct?
Yes.
The information that you were told came from the case officer. Is that right?
Who's the case officer?
The information that this was a pedestrian vehicle incident, as opposed to motor vehicle incident, pedestrian bicycle, motor vehicle motorcycle. You were told it was a motor vehicle pedestrian incident that you were asked to reconstruct, correct?
Yeah, I was told that, yes.
All right, and you had to be given some basic parameters of what that incident, how that incident occurred. The car was going in reverse, it's got a damaged taillight, things like that.
What happened?
Some basic stuff, yeah.
What I'm asking is,
What's so hard to fucking say, dude?
I don't know, man.
Where'd it come from?
That the car was traveling in reverse. Like, which part of the information you asked?
Oh my God, dude.
Were you given information from multiple sources? Or did someone give you a summary of what you were being asked to do? At the very beginning,
Yep.
who gave you the summary?
Summary of the whole entire.
Of the event that you were asked to
Steve, can you pause this for a second?
He's playing
I was
games,
passed
man.
down.
He's
Dude.
playing games. He is.
Let me ask you
fucking
this. Let
playing
me
games.
ask you this. What did Proctor say in his text messages? That he got waffled.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
To me, waffled means between two cars.
Correct.
Right? They couldn't make that scene happen.
Nope.
So now
They gotta tell him, look, this is what we need you to say happened. This is what we need you to produce.
in your opinion.
In your expert opinion, we need you to reconstruct this so this looks like this.
Bah.
And that's very hard to do that. You can plant evidence, but it's almost impossible to cheat evidence at a scene on a body. Very hard to cheat evidence, because when guys like us show up and I look at the body and you say, oh, this happened. No, that didn't happen, because I've seen this 1,000 times and now something's messed up,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Can't cheat evidence. You can plan evidence, but you can't cheat it. And that's exactly, it seems, in our opinion, that's what they're doing here.
Yeah.
That's why he's playing the runaround.
He's playing dumb.
Yeah, he's playing dumb. Well, he just asked him, the case agent. That's Trooper Proctor. He's the case agent. He's the case leader.
Yeah.
What did he want? What did he say? I don't know. Who?
Gave you some
What?
parameters, right?
Yeah. No, he's playing games.
Yeah.
He's
I
playing
had to take a pause because he was stressing me out.
Yeah. Go ahead, Steve.
Okay.
When I got to the garage, there was nobody that sat there and gave me the summary, like, that I can remember. I was told that it was a pedestrian crash. I knew it was a Boston police officer involved, that this was the vehicle, and that it was traveling in reverse. That's all they had.
Okay. What I'm asking is, that's great. Thank you for the summary. Who gave you the summary?
I don't know if it was definitely anybody from the get-go that was like I talked to.
From where?
I don't know if it's anybody that I could definitely say that was the person. There was multiple people going around when I got there. I think I talked.
Who gave you the orders?
Zach Clark. He was doing the crime scene. I think he was more Zach Clark. He was the crime scene photos at the time. I knew him from past crashes. He just said this is the vehicle, and I think he kind of gave me a little bit of a lowdown on.
So it was
One person will give him the order.
CSI that told him the breakdown,
My
basically.
question is this. When you got that, did you call it a lowdown? He gave you the lowdown?
He gave me information. Yes.
Right. When you got the lowdown,
Yeah, low down, one down.
you were told Boston police officer was involved, the vehicle pedestrian incident, car was going in reverse, ultimately led to the death of the pedestrian. Struck the pedestrian in reverse, correct?
Correct.
All right.
Who told you that?
And you were assigned specifically to try to reconstruct that incident.
Yes.
Have you ever heard of the phrase confirmation bias?
I know the phrase. Yes.
You know what it means?
I can't definitely say what it means.
Developing a conclusion and then trying to find evidence to fit that conclusion. Does that sound right?
Yes.
You say
Yes. Oh, goddamn, dude.
I did say so. Would you say so?
You noted in your direct examination that there were scratches on the passenger side rear bumper of the Lexus, correct?
Yes.
Did you see the scratches? I looked at some of the pictures. Yeah. I think they show
How
some.
exactly were you able
should show
to
some.
scientifically determine that any of those scratches were from an incident on January 29th, 2022, as opposed to Any other time?
I didn't have anything else on the time. I said that those scratches happened prior to this collision.
I'm sorry.
I didn't have any information that those scratches were caused from a prior collision. And so when I looked at the evidence, I knew it was in that same area, the right rear tail light. So when I looked at it, it didn't quite fit the pedestrian thing. So when you showed me the video, or I saw the video like a year ago on Court TV, I said that could be.
You asked the question, so next, keep going.
He's rambling.
He's answering. Next question.
Answer the question.
Hold on.
You know what the judges did?
Ask a question, Mr. Jackson.
You're giving too much info, bro.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Wear and tear on a vehicle, right?
Yes.
Bumpers get scratched myriad ways, correct?
Correct.
Get scratched in a grocery store parking lot, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Especially in Vegas by carts.
Bounce off the back of the
Happens
car,
all the time.
scratch the bumper, scratch the side of the car, quarter panel or something, right?
Sure.
I mean, I don't want to go through it, but there's thousands and thousands and thousands of ways that a car can get a scratch, correct?
Correct.
My question is, as you sit here, do you have any scientific evidence that those scratches occurred on January 29th at approximately 12:45 a.m.?
What do you mean by scientific evidence?
Oh my Lord.
Do you have any evidence whatsoever that you can point to that those scratches occurred on that date and at that time rather than any other time in the history of that vehicle?
Like I said earlier, the video seems to appear that's what it looks like that could have been from.
Well, you said on Friday, let's talk about those scratches for a second. Because
Okay.
when you testified Friday, you were pretty clear. You said that, if I can find it exactly.
I think our viewers,
Sure.
I think our viewers pulled a fast one on us, dude. They wanted us to do Trooper Paul to get our blood pressure up. I'm telling you, man.
I don't even like the way this guy drinks. Who drinks out of a water
Dude,
bottle that
get
fast?
Give him a Kleenex.
The dent and scratches for his hand could be, those are consistent with striking the Lexus. Remember saying that?
Yes, on the tailgate.
Okay, so the dent and scratches you
No.
talked about on Friday, you said it was from his hand.
No. No.
Yes, hand in the glass cup.
Okay.
Glass maybe. Hand?
Are
Scratching
those
a car?
the same scratches you're
Back of the
talking
hand?
about?
Unless he's got
On a wreck?
Unless he's got a big watch, yeah.
Rock rings?
The
No.
bumper?
Skin? No.
No.
So,
What are you talking about? The scratch inside the bumper that we've been talking about?
correct.
Okay,
That's what I'm
no.
talking about. Okay. Is there any way to scientifically date a scratch?
No.
If you go out in the parking lot right now, even as an accident reconstructionist, you walk out in the parking lot right now and look at a Toyota Camry sitting there. It's got a scratch on it. There's no analysis that you could engage in to date that scratch, could you?
Objection.
So you can ask it differently, Mr. Jackson.
Is there any way that you could, in general, look at a scratch and say, that scratch is from such and such date?
Objection.
I'll allow
Nothing
it.
more.
I'll allow it.
You cannot say. You can look at evidence and shows that it may have been
not what we
older
asked.
than what the newer evidence would be, but there's no way to say that specific date and time and that a scratch would come from.
Right.
Not from a scratch. Get nothing from a scratch.
And it's possible that any or all of those scratches on the Lexus could have predated January 29th, correct?
No,
That's not possible.
the ones that are on from the tail light and the other parts of it
Scratches anywhere.
depends on what you got to pick the other scratches. You got to show me other scratches on the car.
Gotta stay with the story, man.
It's possible, since you can't date the scratch,
That's a
it's
lie.
possible that any or all of those scratches could predate January 29th. It's a simple question, right? It's possible.
Tell the truth.
You're being pretty broad on your scratches here.
How broad? Just answer the
How many
question.
fucking scratches are on the car? I mean, come on.
Do it again.
Skin does not cause scratches.
That any or all of the scratches noted on that car predate January 29th.
Any and all of the scratches? See, that's what I'm saying. You're being pretty broad. Any and all scratches on the car
Answer that question. If
that it
it's possible-
predate.
Objection.
I don't know every single scratch on that car. That could mean
Overruled. So
You should.
can you answer that question?
You're reconstructing. You should know every scratch on that car. Absolutely. Even if it's not related, you should still
Glass
look
on the rear bumper of the SUV,
and-
correct?
yes.
And you
Mark
said
it down.
something about that glass coming from the cup.
Correct.
You also said that you did not see anything on that SUV that could be the source of those glass pieces on the bumper, right?
Yes.
When you did your reconstruction and your analysis, were you informed that none of the glass pieces, not one of them, would be matched to the cup?
I don't know anything about the. I don't know.
Whoopsie.
Bombshell.
Oops.
If you knew that the glass pieces on the bumper do not match the cup, does that change your opinion
Objection.
about that glass?
Can you answer that
I
question?
have a story I have to stick to, sir.
You can't answer the question.
It's what was told to me
He's
as
juggling,
evidence
dude.
Got it. By whom?
by the crime scene.
Who told you?
As crime scene that was there, it says it's glass from the cup. When I did my initial inspection, that's what it was on from.
That's not what you just said. You said that's what was told to me.
Yeah, by crime. No, yeah, I can see by crime scene. While I was at my inspection,
Wait, what?
it was told to me by the crime scene when I was at my inspection, at the initial inspection.
So what you meant by that's what was told to me is the crime scene talked to you.
Yes.
The crime scene whisperer.
Crime scene say anything else?
I don't know what
I
else
might be
you want
going
me
to
to say.
jail. Yes, I might be going to jail.
Did Trooper Proctor tell you that those pieces of glass on the bumper are somehow associated with the cup?
No.
He's lying. Hey, looked up.
He told you.
Correct.
But if you knew that the
We'll go with that.
crime scene was incorrect, and in fact those glass pieces don't match the cup, would that change your opinion?
Objection.
Sustained.
Would it change your opinion in any way if you knew that the glass pieces do not match the cup?
Objection.
I'll allow that. Can you answer that question?
No.
I'm sorry. No, no.
I don't. It's glass from a cup. It's glass. It's not. It doesn't belong to the vehicle.
Right.
It's glass.
But if I told you
Where
it
did that
didn't
glass
match
come from?
that cup,
What?
It's not the cup in his hand.
Listen.
Are we talking? Which cup are we? We never established what
How many
we're
cups are there?
talking about.
One fucking cup,
how,
dude. One
how many
fucking
cups
glass.
have we been talking
Yeah.
about?
How many cups are there?
You said that cup. One I think from the scene. Okay.
That cup? I'm talking.
I just want to make sure that we're on the clear path here.
Yeah.
I'm clear what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Really sure.
Cup is in his hand, right?
I
One cup.
said
One
it's glass.
glass cup.
Next to John O'Keefe's body in the snow at 34 Fairview on January 29th, 2022. You got the cup in mind?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the cup. When I say cup, that's the cup.
That's
Okay.
a fucking cup.
Would it
One
change your
cup.
opinion if I told you that the glass pieces on the bumper don't match that cup?
Yes, it
What's
should
my
change your
opinion
opinion.
on it? All I said was glass from a cup. That's the only opinion I had. It's glass from a cup that was on a bumper.
Are you saying a cup?
A cup. A cup. It's not glass from the car. That was my opinion on it. I didn't never said it matched to the scene.
You did.
Just when you
I
think
never
you
said
can
that
get
in
it
my thing. I said it's glass from a cup.
Oh wait, what's this?
Okay.
How does he know it's from a cup then?
It's just glass, man. It's glass. Which glass?
The forces necessary to shatter a taillight on a 2021 Lexus 570. Correct?
I did not do testing.
How could you not?
Your report indicates, we talked about this a little bit, I'm going to go back.
'Cause you're an
We
idiot.
talked about it earlier
That's
this
how you
morning.
know.
Your report indicates that John O'Keefe came into his final resting place about 7 feet from the roadway, and that's what you based your diagram on, correct?
Yes.
Who told you that number?
I measured it from my diagram.
You say that again?
I measured it from the diagram.
Was the body on the
Okay, what I'm
diagram?
asking is how did it get on the diagram? In other words, who told you that his body was 7 feet from the roadway?
Well, wait, I was told by Lieutenant, was it Gallagher? Paul Gallagher, Cat and PT. He told me this is where the body was found. So I used my devices to mark that location.
Okay, but before you used your devices, he just pointed someplace on the ground and said he was about here, correct?
That's correct.
Did Lieutenant Gallagher tell you that Lieutenant Gallagher never saw John O'Keefe in place at the scene? Did he say that?
No.
Wow, dude. Pause that for a second, Steve.
What the?
Okay. this has been my experience. Okay, whenever I go to a fatal, right, AMR is there. They swoop the body, dude. I would go to my cones and put where the head was and where the chest was.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
That way,
the head or the feet and which direction they were facing. Were they in a supine position? Were they face down? Like, those are the stuff you document very quickly.
You're taking notes. You're taking notes.
Because it's very important,
right?
Yeah.
Because if they whisk them away, chance for them to live, they're not going to sit there and try to treat them right there.
No.
Right? They'll try to stabilize what they can.
No. It's called a stay in.
Stupid swoop, right?
Yeah. Stay in play or load and go. Meaning you're going to stay and work on them, or you're going to load and go. If it's that bad, you load and go because the hospital can do way more for them than you can out on the street.
And when there's fatal comes out.
Fatal detail. And those guys are here in Metro.
Champs.
They are experts. Man, they can tell you, they'll tell you what kind of chew was in your mouth when you hit the guy while you were driving.
Yeah.
Like that. They know everything. Because we also go to CSI. CSI has a big hangar here, and we do all of our reconstructive, and they do everything inside, contained. So everything that comes out of this is 100% factual and truth.
They know the forces that it's going to take to break a tail light.
This is completely unacceptable and horrible. But,
did Lieutenant Gallagher tell you that the first officer on the scene estimated his body at being approximately 15 to 20 feet from the roadway?
That's a big difference.
Big difference. 15 feet, 20 feet, 7 feet.
If he had told you that it changed your diagram?
Objection.
No.
No, it wouldn't have. It should.
He told me
doing what I was told.
I marked the location. That's all that was.
You would have been better off saying that. I was just doing what I was told.
Basically, every other piece of item, sorry, it's a terrible question. Every other item you marked based on a distance from where you were told John O'Keefe's body came to rest, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and that was by Lieutenant Gallagher just pointing at the ground and saying it was about here.
Correct.
Yeah.
Give or take 5 or 10 feet.
Give or take 5 or 10 feet. Doesn't matter. It's just a dead person.
Problem solved.
Not a big deal.
Yeah.
Not a big deal.
Was there a single member of the team that was out when you were being shown where the body came to rest? Was there a single member of that team who actually said they saw John O'Keefe's body in place?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
From, what do you mean team? Canton PD?
Whoever
anybody, dude.
Who was there with you?
Did anybody say?
Anybody.
Doing your measurements, et cetera? For fair view.
It's Lieutenant Gallagher. That's who.
Just you and him?
And myself, and I was training a trooper at the time. She was there.
You were training a trooper at the time?
Yes.
Okay, so it was my mistake. I assumed that there were several.
He's a trainer?
Just you and Lieutenant Gallagher.
Good
Yes,
Lord.
that's why I was confused by the team.
All right. And again, Lieutenant Gallagher didn't tell you that he never saw John O'Keefe's body in place.
No, I don't think so.
It slipped his mind. It happens.
Dude. I can see why people love this video.
You did document in your report that
case,
the
'cause
items
it's
that you
fucking
noted on your
stupid.
diagram we just looked at a few minutes ago, those were found by the CERT team, correct?
Yes.
And you indicated in your report that the members of the CERT team located a single Nike sneaker that's noted on your report. Is that right? On
Correct.
your diagram, rather.
Yes.
You also indicated that, quote, in the same area, 2 red plastic pieces and 1 clear piece of plastic of a taillight was discovered.
Yes.
So your report is clear that in total, the items discovered by the CERT team on January 29th were a shoe, right?
Yes.
A partial glass cup broken, correct?
Well, it was that on there. I can't remember if that's on their diagram or if that's what I was told at the scene, but yes.
Sure.
Yes.
You knew that a cup was found?
Yes.
Or you were told a cup was found?
Yes.
And 3 pieces of plastic, 2 red, 1 clear.
Yes.
Not 5 pieces of plastic, correct?
Correct.
You then measured those items, is that right?
I didn't. What do you mean measure them? Like
Measured
at
them
this?
relative to John O'Keefe's final place of rest. 10 feet from it, 12 feet from it. We're going to go over those numbers.
Yes, I used their report to place those items onto my diagram.
So, I'm going to get to that question in just a second. I want to make sure that we walk through it sort of methodically. You then use some calculation, some tool or something to measure distances. Like there's where I assume John O'Keefe's body was. Here's a final rest place. I'm going to use that as point A, and then I'm going to measure from there and go 7 feet to where the shoe was found, or the first red plastic piece was found, or whatever, right?
Yes.
Who told you where the pieces were found?
They were in Lieutenant Tully's report. He put measurements in his report.
Okay. And you noted that the shoe was 9 feet.
Yes,
And you put that in your diagram.
correct.
You noted that the glass cup was 1 foot from John O'Keefe's body, correct?
Correct.
1 foot is about that long, right?
Yes, it was. They basically said it was found next to him.
Right.
Yes.
A piece of red plastic 7 feet from John O'Keefe's body, correct?
Correct.
A clear plastic piece 10 feet from John O'Keefe's body, right?
Yes.
And a red plastic piece 12 feet from John O'Keefe's body, correct?
Correct.
Lighter, it'll fly farther.
He knows those measurements, but he doesn't know where the body was.
Like center of mass.
Got hit.
So he's 6'2".
Yes.
Did Lieutenant Gallagher tell you where his center mass was?
No, it measured from. He just said he was here, so I tried to put like where his head, where his feet, and try to measure the middle between those two.
So ultimately, because Lieutenant Gallagher was not at the scene when he was found, Lieutenant Gallagher had to sort of guess where the body was found, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Well, what else would they do?
You had no
If nobody saw the body, you got to. What are they going to do?
correct?
Correct.
There were no establishing shots, and there were no perspective
About
shots,
where the
correct?
pool of blood.
Relative shots.
Oh, there wasn't no pool of blood.
This is relative to that, and I can measure that and figure out distances, correct?
What, like from the picture?
Yeah, so you know how that's done in science, right? You want to find out a relative position of something, so you take 2 or 3 or 4 shots. You know that something is never going to move, like, I don't know, a flagpole. You can measure from there.
Sure.
You can get cross coordinates, right?
Sure.
Left and right, and where the 2 coordinates match, that's
That's what
where
I
the
said
eye is,
earlier.
right?
Correct.
None of that was done, right?
From the pictures?
None of that was done to do your measurements.
I used, like I said, I used the measurements from. I measured on my diagram in itself, and I measured from those points off my diagram.
Right, but the starting point was a guess, wasn't it?
Objection.
Sustained.
It was.
Did you have to sort of guess at where you thought John O'Keefe's body was?
I didn't guess where his body was.
Did you guess at his center of mass?
Objection.
Did you guess?
I did not guess.
Next question.
Well, what did you do? How did you figure it out? Explain to us how you figured out where his body was.
He's pissed, dude. Look at him.
You stated in your report that
He's
you
bombing.
Google mapped Miss Reed's path of travel. Well, let me ask you a different question. If I could withdraw that question with the court's permission.
Yes.
Your diagram has all those arrows pointing at specific locations. Very, very specific, very thin arrows pointing, correct?
Yes.
If you start off with an incorrect assumption about where John O'Keefe's body was, right? Hypothetically, if you were to start off with an incorrect assumption where John O'Keefe's
The rest
body
of it
was,
is all null and void.
every single piece of, every single item that you note on that diagram would then be off as well, wouldn't it?
Objection.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I guess hypothetically, depends on how off you want to be.
10 feet.
The answer is yes, correct?
Hypothetically.
It's not hypothetically. It's yes.
You stated in your report that you Google mapped Miss Reed's path of travel on January 29th based on what you determined to be, quote, it's likely the two, and you said that it's, quote, it's likely that the two events, meaning the triggering events, occurred at the same time the Lexus was at 34 Fairview at the time of the collision, correct?
Yes.
The first triggering event is what? Was it a 3-point turn or a U-turn? I thought I heard you say both.
I guess it would be more, 3-point turns, essentially, I guess it's a 3-point turn.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, did you say U-turn on Friday? I could have sworn I heard that.
It could have been a U-turn. I mean, it's still turning around. So you had to make a U-turn when that's a 3-point turn or not, but it's still.
Okay, but I mean, not to be picky, but it's sort of my job.
Okay.
A U-turn is traveling in one direction, turning, right? Turning the wheel, never changing gear.
Turn around.
Once it's reverse or anything.
Very
it's turn,
simple.
Right?
We've all done a U-turn, yes, America?
A 3-point turn
Yeah.
requires
The thing is the computer will tell you exactly what it did.
changing gears, moving backward, stopping, changing gears, using a steering input, and moving off, correct?
Correct.
Well, those are two very different maneuvers, right? You'd agree.
It's, in a sense, I was trying to say she made a U-turn. Like you can say they made a U-turn. It's a 3-point turn. They're still making a U-turn. And I didn't mean it as like she literally had to make a direct U-turn. She was turning around. And obviously the diagram or the trigger shows the 3-point turn.
Well, I mean, I guess you could have said reversing direction, right?
That would have been a better way to say it, yes.
You didn't say that. You said U-turn. So are you changing your testimony from Friday that it was a 3-point turn, or could it possibly have been a U-turn?
It's a 3-point turn.
Okay, because you have evidence of the starting, stopping, changing gears, reversing, stopping, changing gears, turning.
That's correct.
Okay, so when you said U-turn, that was inaccurate.
Then it's a 3-point turn, man.
Objection.
Then it's not a U-turn. U-turn doesn't change gears. U-turn is you stay forward momentum, forward movement.
Let's
and you
get
just
back to
turn.
the path of travel when you began your analysis. How did you know what the Lexus's path of travel was that day?
How did you?
I got the directions from Trooper Proctor.
Nobody saw the car.
Proctor tell
in reverse,
you
I don't
in
think.
terms of the path of travel specifically? Starting point and an ending point tell you the exact path Lexus traveled.
No, all I got was mostly just the addresses.
Okay, so if you've got 2 points on a map, and Trooper Proctor told you Lexus traveled from point A to point B, there are multiple ways to get from point A to point B. You'd agree with that, right?
Yes.
You picked one of those, right? The path of travel includes freeways, et cetera, right?
Yes.
But as you sit here, you don't know what her actual path of travel was, because it could have been something different, right?
It could have been something. That's why I gave a range on my diagram.
Do you have any scientific evidence to establish what her actual path of travel is, or did you just guess at the path of travel?
I got the addresses from Trooper Proctor. I put them into the thing, and one of the possibilities of
thing?
36 miles.
What's the thing?
After looking at
What's
all
the
of them,
thing?
at 36 miles is a possibility.
Right, understood. So that's what I'm trying to get to, Trooper Paul.
Okay.
That's one possibility.
It's a special thing.
36 miles,
Very special thing.
route of travel, right?
Correct.
There are other possibilities, right?
Yes.
So between and among the possibility that you picked and the other possibilities, you just sort of have to guess. And there's no science to it. You just said, I'm going to pick that one. You put it in my report, right?
No, that's not how that worked.
Okay, why don't you tell me how that works?
Yeah, tell us how it works.
Her odometer mileage
Paul.
on the car from the download and the time we had the vehicle shows 36 miles. So when I plugged those addresses into Google, it came up as 36 miles as a possibility.
And you knew that there was another route of travel to the same location, correct?
What do you mean?
There were alternative routes of travel to the same
There always is.
from and to the same points, correct?
Yes. Yes.
You could have tried to extract the location data from Ms. Reed's cell phone to determine the exact route of travel, correct?
I don't know. I don't have access to do cell phone extractions.
So that answers my next question. You did not even attempt to do that, did you?
No.
That makes sense. He doesn't do that. He's
You
reconstructing.
did attempt to analyze the key cycles for the Lexus in order to determine placement of that vehicle. You just talked about that with Mr. Lauer, right?
Yes.
I want to be clear for the jurors because most people have probably never heard of key cycles. A key cycle does not have any location data associated with it whatsoever, does it?
Correct.
It just shows you when a vehicle is turned on, ignition is on, and off. That's one cycle, correct?
No.
Tell me what I've got wrong.
Key cycle, the car doesn't have to be turned on.
Say that again.
It goes from off to run. The engine doesn't have to be started to off.
Understood. So if it turns on, well, every single
Accessories. Right?
ignition is a key cycle. Every time the engine turns on, that's absolutely a key cycle. Once it's turned off again, right?
That gets recorded as an ignition cycle.
Right. So a key cycle can be an ignition cycle, but it doesn't have to be an ignition cycle. It also can be just turning the sort of accessory on, right?
The key cycle is to turn the accessories on.
All right. But it does, my question was, and where we started with this conversation is, it does not have any location data on it whatsoever.
Correct.
All right. So when you drive your car, you walk out, get in the car, turn the ignition on, start to drive, get to your location, turn it off. That's one key cycle, right?
One ignition cycle.
But and I'm going to use the word key cycles because you use the word key cycles in your report. That's what we're talking about.
I'm using that because that's how the trigger was read.
That's how what?
The triggers were read on the text stream. That's how they read them, key cycles.
By key cycles.
Yes.
I'm going to use that phrase key cycle.
Okay.
We're talking about the same thing. It's an ignition on, ignition off cycle.
It doesn't have to be on.
So you mean the engine doesn't have to be turned on?
Correct.
Right. But if you're seeing triggering events, I'm trying to be tricky here. If you're seeing triggering events, your car's in motion, what does that tell you? The ignition's on or off?
The ignition's on.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting to. But it has no location data associated with whatsoever. It could be here, it could be in Wyoming. The car wouldn't know the difference. It's not going to report the difference to you, correct?
On the key cycle,
Correct.
on just the key cycle. The key cycle does not give out locations.
Say that again?
The key cycle does not give a location.
Right. So your analysis
Thank you.
is trying to go from a known key cycle that you can figure out and then work backward from there to try to figure out where the car was on a particular ignition cycle or key cycle, correct?
I didn't use the key cycle to put it back.
Say that again?
I did not use the key cycle to place the car back in its location. The key cycles were, all I got from the key cycles is that they occurred close within proximity to the time we've had the vehicle, not basically saying that this was the location based off the key cycle.
Well, let's look at Exhibit 591 with the court's permission.
Okay.
Yeah, let's look at this. Very interesting.
Did you testify on Friday that this is a copy of the exhibit that was put in 591? This is part of your report, correct?
Yes, it is.
And this is a chart that shows when, move to this arrow, that arrow indicates top and bottom where your testing occurred, correct?
Yes.
And we move over to the left, that is key cycle what?
1164.
Right. So you've testified, and we can turn the lights on. Your Honor, I don't mind if that stays up. We can turn the lights on. I don't think it hurts anything. You stated in your report that there were, quote, 2 triggers recorded on odometer 12629 and key cycle 1162, correct?
Yes.
These events were prior to the testing triggers on odometer readings 12665/12666 and at key cycle 1160. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're saying, what you're saying in that report is the triggering events were at 1162, going in reverse in order. 1162 comes before 1164. They're numerical. Is that right?
Yes.
Every single key cycle just tags another number on top of it, right? There's no formula.
Correct.
After 1 comes 2, after 2 comes 3, 4, 5, 6, and then move on, right?
Yes.
So by the time you got the vehicle, there had been 1,164 key cycles on the history of that car, correct?
Correct.
All right. And you knew, and you put in your report, the triggering events that you see under 1164, those are yours. And clear that you recorded, that you talked to Mr. Lally about, were 2,
Yes.
meaning ignition cycles at least, right?
Yes.
Stated in your report, well, let me finish, and the triggers that occurred while testing was 36 miles. You just said that, right?
Yes.
And the key cycle difference was exactly 2 key cycles, right?
Yes.
1164, 1163, 1162. That's the triggering events, correct?
That's correct.
You also reiterated in your report in paragraph 23, 24, 26, and 29, and also in this exhibit in your car's report, that the triggers occurred at key cycle 1162, right?
Yes.
You were assisted in your car's report. I think you mentioned Trooper Zach Clark. Is that right?
Yes.
Trooper Proctor assisted to a certain degree, correct?
Yes.
Trooper Larini, Carol Larini. Is that right?
Yes.
Also, Sergeant Sean Good of Canton PD assisted as well, correct?
Yes, in a sense.
Did they all read the report before it was finalized?
No.
Did you have any supervisor read the report before it was finalized?
Yes.
And he agreed with the assessments in the report?
Yes.
So in summary, everybody that read the report and you who authored the report believed, and it's reflected in that report, that key cycle 1162 contained the two triggers that you're talking about, right?
Yes.
That's the 3-point turn, I guess now a 3-point turn, right? Changing direction, and then
Yes.
the reverse at 24 miles per hour, correct?
Correct.
And you even went on and testified to that exact thing under oath in front of the state grand jury, correct?
Yes. Wait, hold on. Under the text streams?
On the key cycles.
Not in grand jury.
Okay. Testified to it on direct examination on Friday and again this morning.
Yes, correct.
If your testing occurred at key cycle 1164, that means you turned the engine on, the ignition on to start your testing, correct?
Correct.
And that triggering event that we see up there at 1164 initiated your testing, is that right?
Yes.
All right. So
Go backwards.
that 1164 is where that's where there's no more unknowns, in other words. Right? You know exactly where the car is, who's in the car, who turned the car on, and what the triggering events were, and what they
Know who turned that key.
You did, correct?
Correct.
It's you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that would be the cornerstone, basically, of your entire analysis of the key cycles.
Say again.
The cornerstone, in
Like-
other words, the one known that is immovable, it's immutable, is 1164 began your testing. Is that right?
Objection.
Is that right? I'm going to allow the question.
Yeah, that's when the car was in state custody.
All right.
Mutable as gravity.
Yep.
So starting at
You did it.
1164 and counting
That's
back.
what it is.
Before you started your testing, you know that the SUV had to be started, the ignition had to be turned over, and it was driven to the Sally Port in Canton at 5:31 p.m. from a tow truck on January 29th, correct?
I didn't know that.
You did or did not?
Did not know that.
Okay. Assuming that the car had to be started and put on a tow truck, that would be key cycle what?
I don't know how. I can't speak to the fact that recorded a key cycle at that time.
I can't hear you.
I can't speak to the fact that we would record a key cycle at that time.
Okay. If the car was turned on and driven
Turn the
onto
key.
a tow truck, would that be a key cycle?
I
Yes.
don't know because these keys record different ways, so I can't speak to how or why it did not record on there.
They don't record in different ways.
That those are the key cycles. The odometer mile
Turn it.
is
It's key cycle.
more what I was going after on this whole thing.
That's a lie.
For Paul, you just said unequivocally,
Yeah, that's
car is
ridiculous.
turned on and then turned off. There's a key cycle.
Yes.
I said when the car without the ignition on. That's a key cycle.
Right.
That's correct.
That's what I mean, when it's turned on, when the engine turns on.
That's the definition of what it is.
When
I
you
can't
start
speak
the
to
friggin'
why,
car, man.
why I didn't go on, why I did not record.
Well,
So magically, when they pulled it onto the tow truck, it didn't record a key cycle. Recorded every other cycle
Okay.
for 1,000 times, but not that one.
okay.
Okay.
Bullshit. Bullshit.
Obviously, the car
That's
had to
impossible.
get to Canton PD because you saw it there,
Yeah.
correct?
That's impossible.
Assume for purposes of my question, the car was turned on, and there's a video of it turning on, driving up onto a flatbed tow truck.
Yes.
That would be ignition cycle, I'm going to use your word, key cycle, ignition cycle, 1163, correct?
Again, ignition
Yeah.
cycle, key cycles are two different things.
Which one?
Oh my God.
Key cycles. You want
Yeah.
ignition cycles? It's ignition cycles when the vehicle gets turned on. A key cycle does not mean to be turned on.
But every single ignition cycle includes a key cycle. You can't have an ignition cycle without a key cycle.
Yeah, you can't turn the car on then.
Just use the key cycles or ignition cycles. I'm trying to make sure this gets out. I'm trying to make sure that this gets put out the correct way.
There's only one way to put it out, son.
Yeah, you've changed it.
Every ignition
You've changed
cycle
it.
includes a key cycle, correct?
Yes.
In a
Because you're turning the
sense.
car on.
Ignition. It has to.
It has
It doesn't
to.
have to.
What?
They record multiple different ways.
You can have an ignition
Oh,
cycle
multiple different
without a key cycle.
I don't know how it recorded, but it could happen.
Explain that. How could that possibly happen?
Because a key
you go.
cycle is when it turns on, not engine running, and then turns off.
Okay, so work with me here.
Ignition cycle is when it turns on, engine running for 2 seconds, and then comes off.
Okay, so
For the 2 seconds, if it's not on long enough, it might not record one.
Bullshit. It's a
ignore the
computer. Dude.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
computer.
that's not what we're doing.
Okay.
And it's not on for 2 seconds when you're pulling it onto a tow
Assume
truck.
That it's an old-fashioned type of key.
Okay.
Okay, halfway on, the electricity is on. It's like it used to be called ACC. Accessories.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
accessories.
That's a key cycle, correct?
For that intents
Yes.
of purpose, yes. This vehicle's not a key cycle. It's not a
Then you
thing.
keep turning,
Okay.
and that turns the engine on.
Exactly.
It turns the engine on, correct?
The ignition cycle, right?
Yes. Well, then turns off.
Ignition cycle necessarily includes the precursor key cycle, correct? Even though every key cycle might not include an ignition cycle. Would you agree with that?
In that scenario, yes.
Fine. With that
He's killing me.
definition, I want to talk about ignition cycles because I don't want to get confused about accessories or
10 minutes on key cycles?
engine.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
If you started your testing at 1164, then if the engine was turned on, thereby initiating a key cycle, driving the car onto a flatbed truck, and then hauling it over to Canton PD, that would be key cycle 1163 in that hypothetical, correct?
It could be.
Okay? Then going backward
It
from
has to
there,
be.
if the SUV was, I'm sorry, let me add one event that I just forgot.
Key cycle.
It had to get off the tow truck in Canton and be driven into the Sally Port. Did you ever see that video?
It did.
No.
Being driven in?
Did.
No.
They're not going to let it.
There was a video showing that
Not,
the
you
car
know, just
was
drift
actually
back.
driven into the Sally Port. That would necessarily be a key cycle, correct?
Possibly.
Okay, so that would be
Possibly.
63. My mistake. I was missing one, right?
Okay.
Before that, if the car was turned on and driven onto the flatbed to get to Canton, that would be key cycle 1162 in order, correct? We're going backward.
It's possible.
Very simple.
All right?
It's not possible. That's what it is.
If the car was started and the car was driven from One Meadows Avenue to Karen Reed's parents' home in Dighton, that would be another key cycle, 1161, correct?
Yes.
They're possible.
Before that, if the SUV was started and driven by Miss Reed from the garage at John O'Keefe's house to Jennifer McCabe's house at 5:07 in the morning, that would be another key cycle, correct? 1160. Is that right?
It's possible.
And before that, if the SUV was started and driven by Miss Reed to the waterfall, from the waterfall to 34 Fairview at approximately 12:15 a.m., that would be another key cycle, 1159, right?
It's possible.
It's
want to be
very
clear.
It is. It's not.
The reason
It's
that
possible.
these
It is.
numbers skip in your diagram, they don't go directly in order, right? Not every single number is in order on this left-hand column, because this is only a diagram of when triggering events occur, right?
Yes.
Something unusual about the operation of the vehicle, correct?
Yes.
And it's clear that from the data, there was no triggering event at key cycle 1159, was there?
No.
So assuming the driving events that I just told you, right? Assuming for purposes of my question, that the driving events started at 11:59, driving over to 34 Fairview from the waterfall. Then driving at 5:07 in the morning over to Jenny Cave's house, 11:60. Then driving to Dighton, her parents' house, 11:61. Then the car being seized in Dighton by Trooper Proctor, 11:62. Then the car being taken off the flatbed and driven into the Sallyport of Canton, 11:63. Your testing starts at 11:64. That would mean that at 11:62, that key cycle would include the time in which Trooper Proctor had possession of that car, correct?
No.
Shenanigans.
Assuming my hypothetical.
Your
No.
hypothetical?
Yes.
If that's hypothetically how it works, then yes.
Then what?
If that's hypothetically how it works, then yes.
Hypothetically. Hypothetically. No, that is what happened.
Yep.
That's exactly what happened.
2022, you were asked by a grand jury
You just can't say it.
whether you knew or had done any scientific testing to determine the distance a body would actually travel struck by a vehicle. Remember that?
Not that specifically.
Of course not.
Not in that way.
Do you remember answering that you had not, I'm just paraphrasing, that you had not done all you hadn't finished your report yet?
Why don't you show him? He said he didn't remember it that way.
Maybe we're spoiled here, dude, with
We are spoiled here in Vegas.
with Fatal, dude, because they are rock stars.
Oh, man. They would have had all this done in a day.
Yeah.
2 days. They would have told you exactly what happened. Everything that happened, a couple of days.
Take a look at middle of the page.
When it's high priority? Yeah.
Your answer starts at about line 12, but the question above it is probably informative.
Refresh your memory, Trooper Paul.
Yes.
Now he knows.
You were asked, does that remind you that you were asked by a grand juror if you could calculate how far a body would move having been struck by a vehicle?
Yes.
And you indicated, quote, yeah, there's certain calculations we can do with that, would figure out if the car backed up, hit somebody, and then they go a certain amount of distance, and it's based on miles per hour, the speed of the vehicle, the striking vehicle, and stuff. Remember saying that?
Yes.
What did you mean by stuff?
Stuff.
I don't know.
That's a professional term, sir.
Calculations would be based
We're
on-
doing stuff over here. We got stuff going on over
Secret
here.
scroll stuff.
Right, secret scroll stuff.
Did you ever do any stuff to test that? The grand jury's question.
No, we cannot calculate anything from this collision.
Say that one more time.
We cannot calculate anything from this collision.
Who's we?
I mean, sorry, me. The role me.
Well, you know John O'Keefe's weight, right?
What's that?
You know John O'Keefe's weight, 217 pounds, right?
17 pounds, yeah. 6'2",
Yes.
217.
Did you know that?
That's
I
a
don't
big
know
boy.
his weight. No.
That's a big boy.
You know the weight of the vehicle?
Yes.
What's the weight of the vehicle, gross weight?
What's the gross weight?
Yeah.
I think it's approximately 7,300 pounds.
Okay. Were you able to calculate the mass of the vehicle?
Yeah. That's big.
I did not calculate the mass of the vehicle.
No, that's incorrect.
Grand jury, you were planning on doing that kind of stuff.
7,300?
To
No.
calculate how far a person would travel being struck at that speed with a car of that weight.
Find out.
Steve, pause us for a second.
Calculations?
No, because
Average SUV, she has a midsize SUV, Lexus. I'm going to go with those are anywhere between like 4,000, 5,000 pounds tops. 7,000 pounds for a midsize SUV? No way. No way.
Not very
It's not
good.
7,000 pounds. That's like a big dually diesel truck. 8,000 pounds.
It's 4,300 pounds on all-wheel drive.
Boom. Told you.
She's got a
4,000 to about 5,000
XL
pounds.
5'7".
That's not going to add 3,000 pounds, fool.
I don't know.
Come on now. All right, I'm sorry. We had to clarify that. 7,000 pounds, that hit me like a brick in the face. That's a lie.
Hit you like an SUV.
How is he a reconstructive expert and he doesn't even know how much a car weighs?
Or how much he weighed.
I'm just a street cop and I can tell you that it does not weigh 7,300
Here's
pounds.
his ID. You can figure out his specs.
Yeah. About 4,000, 5,000 pounds, give or take.
Wow.
Yeah.
the calculations would
Okay.
vastly underestimate the speed of the vehicle.
You testified, again, my report isn't done yet. I'm going to look into it. I'm looking into
Trying to
all-
verify. Fact checkers over
Fact
here.
checks.
Fact checkers. Live fact checkers.
It's been more than 2 years since that statement at the grand jury. Is your report finished?
Yes, it is.
Did you engage in any of those calculations?
I looked into it. This type of collision I would not be able to use the formulas for this type of collision.
Well, let's talk about those formulas. How would you
Let's talk about formulas.
how far a body at rest would travel after being struck by an object in motion? How would you calculate that?
In pedestrian collisions, I use Searle
Jello.
formula.
What formula?
Searle
We said in English.
type of formula that would use for a calculation of post-impact
So
or
that's-
speeds of pedestrians.
That includes
Jello.
physics to calculate that, right?
What do you mean?
Sorry?
What do you mean by certain
What's your formula, bro? What are you going to use to figure it out?
There would be physics calculations that would be required to figure out how far a body at rest would move having been struck by an object in motion. Right? That's a basic principle.
Yeah, I guess you could say though.
Yeah.
All right. Can you describe for the jurors exactly what calculations you would need to employ to determine how far a body at rest would travel having been struck by an object in motion?
So, in this scenario, in this collision, it's more of a side swipe. So he did not he did not get enough speed of the vehicle post impact with the vehicle to be able calculations.
So how
His
did
center of mass
launching
was offset from the vehicle,
25 feet?
so we could not get
30
we
feet.
would vastly underestimate his speed. So that's why I did not do a formula. If he was more in line with behind the vehicle, he would have been projected forward, and using that projection forward, he would have been able to get
No.
more closer to the actual speed of the vehicle during that post-impact travels.
No.
Well, that presumes a couple
24 miles an hour.
No.
That presumes that he was quote unquote sideswiped, right?
Presumed,
Presumed by you.
Yeah.
You didn't see how he was hit, did you?
based on
Nobody did.
it appeared to be a side
Oh,
swipe.
That's,
all the evidence. Gee, it's all the evidence.
That's just reading the evidence.
You're saying that the principles of physics as we know them today in modern mathematics
C students.
is thwarted by a sideswipe?
Objection.
Is that what you're saying?
It's
Yeah.
the calculations
That's what he
that
said.
are out there. You can get a speed, it would just underestimate the speed.
You would have to know what the initial momentum of the object is that's in motion, correct?
Of what object?
The truck.
I would have to know that speed.
You'd have to know what the initial momentum is, not speed, momentum. There's a difference,
Okay.
right? Would you agree with that?
No.
Said okay.
You wouldn't have to calculate what the initial momentum is of the object in motion to determine the distance of the body at rest would move?
Well, in that sense, are we talking about trying to find the speed of the vehicle? That's usually what we're trying to do.
Right, okay. Well, let's put the speed of the vehicle aside. Let's talk about initial momentum. What's the formula for calculating initial momentum?
There's different types of momentum formulas.
Well, there's actually one type of momentum formula. It's to calculate momentum.
Objection.
Sustained.
To calculate momentum, there is a single
So sustained. Ask it differently.
Isn't it differently. True for Paul, that there is a singular calculation for determining initial momentum. That is P equals M times V, where P is the momentum. You're solving for that. M is mass. You multiply that by velocity. Is that right? Pretty simple.
Yeah. Pretty simple.
You wouldn't use that in a pedestrian collision.
Oh, because the pedestrian's somehow magically out of the realm of physics?
Objection.
Sustained.
Is the pedestrian out of the realm of physics and calculations?
No, it's the weight differential between the pedestrian and the vehicle.
What?
So,
Of course there's going to be a weight difference. It's a car and a dude.
like, can't calculate
Come on, man.
the initial momentum of the vehicle?
Yes,
Got it. Where'd you learn that?
Class.
it's in my math class. We only use momentum for
Math class. Pre-algebra.
Oh my gosh.
reconstruction classes I have taken.
Got it. Would you need to apply the theory of conservation of momentum in calculating these data?
What did you just say?
So you need to calculate conservation of momentum.
Heard of calculation? Of conservation of momentum.
Yes.
You know what that is? There's an equation for that as well.
I've heard of it.
He doesn't know what
That
it
is?
is.
Not off the top of my head, but yes.
Of course not.
What is it?
Based on the basic principles of physics, is the total momentum of the collision greater or less than the total momentum after the collision? Total momentum before the collision, is it greater or less than the total momentum after the collision? Basic question.
What type of collision?
Trooper Paul, they're exactly equal in all respects under the principles of physics, right? That's the theory of the conservation of momentum. Momentum doesn't change. It's
Yes.
transferred from one body to another,
Yes.
correct?
Expert here. He's an expert, remember.
It's yours.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Yep, he is broken.
I was going to say, hi, we're on Earth. Where are you? Where are you, bro?
To quote, look into all this stuff, you would probably know these answers, wouldn't you?
Objection.
Sustained.
Are there any other calculations that you need to figure out the stuff that you were talking to about with the grand jury?
Objection.
Sustained.
How about calculating the final velocity of the objects after the collision? Would that be important?
What
He is
objects?
completely shut down, dude.
That would be John O'Keefe's body, sir. Object
I don't.
that you claim was flying through the air 30 feet.
Objection.
Sustained.
How about calculating the displacement using kinematic equations? Would you be able to do that?
The displacement of the body.
In order to calculate how far the body would move based on the
Kudos to
mass
the
of the
train,
object.
Dude, what the friggin'...
Could you use displacement using kinematic equations?
So, like I said before, the side swipe, he would not have gotten 100% of the vehicle, 100% of the speed of the striking vehicle. It would have vastly underestimated this vehicle. You couldn't hit a person and side swipe them, spin them off to the side, and have that and get that speed from those calculations.
So you're saying that the discipline of physics cannot figure out how far John O'Keefe's body would move, but you personally figured out that he would have flown now somewhat, or been projected somewhat 30 feet.
Objection.
Is that right?
Sustained.
Are you saying that the
Can't figure out physics, but he can...
are incapable
He'll tell you where the body was.
of determining with the proper calculations how far John O'Keefe's body would have moved given the collision at issue?
Objection.
Is that what you're saying, Trooper?
No.
Okay, next question.
I don't know what I'm saying.
You just said because it was a side swipe, all these calculations, these physics calculations are inapplicable, right?
But I'm saying it would underestimate the speed and the distance.
The truth is, Trooper Paul, you have no idea what all these physics calculations mean, do you?
Dude, I'm confused.
Sustained.
You've not
This
been
dude's-
trained in physics formally, have you?
No, obviously.
You have been,
It's incorporated into the classes.
right? You had a few classes. that
You know it so well.
You haven't been formally trained in physics, have you?
Objection.
Sustained.
You haven't been formally trained in kinematics, correct?
It's in the aspects of all our crash reconstruction classes.
You haven't been formally trained and hold no degrees in biomechanics, do you?
I do not have a degree in biomechanics.
In fact, basically what you did in this case was calculated ignition cycles. And you even got those wrong, right?
Objection.
Sustained. It's the appropriate part of the question, you'll get it.
Make him look like an idiot professionally, please.
Let me ask you this. Based on your reconstruction, nearly 2-year investigation, exactly how was that taillight shattered?
Yeah.
How does the taillight? What do you mean? It gets so the taillight in this case was shattered when it was struck John O'Keefe's arm.
Exactly what part of his arm?
It, based on what I saw for his injuries, was from the upper part of his arm down.
Was his arm out? And it just struck the arm like a hinge? Was it in front of him? You did the reconstruction.
It looked,
That's exactly how his body was
Careful what you say.
when he was struck by that.
so it looks like his arm was more kind of like this. If I can try to get that.
You're indicating out by his side, correct?
Yes.
All right. And the taillight would have struck his arm,
So the,
right?
here.
Yes.
Not his torso.
Well,
This
Yes.
one. Yeah.
right arm. Yeah.
So
He's got the
the
glass.
full mass, the full weight of that truck hit him basically at the elbow. Is that right? Missing his
No.
torso.
But I said it, yeah, from the upper part of the arm
Right.
down. Yeah.
The elbow and the biceps.
I didn't see anything that shows an indication that this lower torso was struck, but
Okay. So his torso,
it's not saying it could not have been a possibility, but I just didn't see anything.
so his torso was spared from being hit, but the arm took the brunt, the full force of the vehicle, correct?
Like arm and shoulder, yes.
Okay. And you said he then did a spin like a sort of a pirouette.
That didn't kill him.
He got spun around possibly the way he struck.
Did he say pirouette?
Yeah.
Turned around counterclockwise.
Okay.
No,
So
the
turns
attorney
around
said pirouette.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Pirouette.
Air counterclockwise.
He got hit. And he was
Yes.
like, oh.
Initially.
So it gets hit from the upper biceps, shoulder area, and down to the forearms, right?
Yes.
By an unbroken taillight, right?
Yes.
In other words, it's nice and smooth. Nothing, no shards of plastic or anything broken at the time that it made contact with his arm, right?
Correct.
Okay, so how did his arm get open?
Because when his arm struck the taillight then cracked, and as the car is driving past him, the taillight could scratch it.
Got it. So
With a long sleeve shirt on?
not his
Jacket?
torso, it's just the arm. The taillight cracks, and as it passes by, his arm stays with it long enough to get striations, those scratches that we see, those lacerations, I'm sorry, those abrasions that we see, right?
In a sense, yes.
And at the same time, he does a pirouette and flies 30 feet to his final point of rest.
I don't know if he did a pirouette.
Well, I'm using the word pirouette. He spun around.
He started rotating counterclockwise. I don't know how far he ran counterclockwise, but he started rotating. According to that, would push him to rotate counterclockwise. Whether or not he went counterclockwise all the way to his back toward the ground,
That would spin you
it seems like a most likely possibility.
sideways.
Did you account for the fact that his arm is on a hinge?
It's what? Say again?
Did you account for the
Oh,
fact
which
that
what?
the scenario that you just told the jurors that his arm is on a hinge?
On a
Called
hinge.
shoulder.
Okay.
Okay? So, his arm got hit. Didn't his arm just swing?
Yeah.
I said arm and shoulder area, so his arm could have been considered part of it.
Even if his shoulder got the upper,
Okay.
pointing to his upper biceps.
Hit him here.
Right? There's no injuries on his shoulder. Not a single
Even
one.
then,
Not even
your
bruise,
vertebrae
right?
twists.
There's no spin.
Like I said, it looked like to me it was from up here. I don't know how far I can up back here, but it was up here.
Well,
So
you're the one that talked about his injuries on his arm.
yes.
That's limited to about mid biceps, to about mid forearm, correct?
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Say so.
No injuries on the shoulder, no injuries on the torso, no injuries on the ribs, no injuries on the back, correct? Is that right?
Yes.
So your theory is you got hit on the arm, took the brunt of the force from the taillight on the arm, stayed with the vehicle long enough for the taillight to explode, basically, to shatter. Then these striations get on his arm, abrasions. Does a pirouette, spin, counterclockwise, and flies 30 feet in the air to his point of rest.
Yeah, it happened probably a little faster than that, though.
No way. You believe in that?
He said he hit his head on the curb.
You believe that? I got
That's
a
one
bridge
of
to
the
sell you.
possibilities of when you look at the roadway, as he gets spun around counterclockwise, it's a possibility that the curb is there, any blunt force object on the ground, as the ground is pretty blunt.
Well, except in your scenario that you just told us, he flew through the air onto the light dusting of snow, grass, and dirt.
I didn't say through the air.
Say that again?
I didn't say he got thrown through the air.
Okay, I'll use your word. He got projected. Like
Projected doesn't mean it's not incorporating just throw. Project just means you get pushed forward. There's two parts of that. There's the air, then there's the ground. Like I said earlier, the tumbling, the rolling, whatever that part of the crash would happen. Projecting is just what we call what happens to a pedestrian post-impact with a crash.
Pause that, Steve, for a sec.
So,
You know why he said the curb? Because O'Keefe had got beat right, on basically his face and his head, but he had something hit him in the back of the head.
Yeah, and he had a cut in his nose too, right?
Uh-huh.
How many? Go ahead, finish your thought.
No, I was just saying that he had to bring in and introduce the curb to match the story with the injuries to his head and his face. See, if it's all snowy, soft, dirt, leaves, front yard, you're not going to have head trauma. You might have some scrapes, right? Let's just say, okay, bam, she nailed him hard. Okay, yeah, you might get some scrapes, but are you going to have from this, boom, have head trauma that kills you?
Yeah.
100% no.
There'd be DNA on the curb, right? How many times have you been to a one-punch knockout where the guy dies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was there any lacerations to his dome when he hits the curb?
Mm-hmm.
Small.
Mm-hmm.
They're really small,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. I don't think I've only seen that once.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the firefighter. Yeah.
I just seen it. maybe once.
Yeah.
But most of the time, there's no cuts.
Yeah.
It's just the blunt trauma to the brain when it hits the ground.
Hits the ground, yeah. Or yeah, like you said, it's a little laceration from the impact of the point of the skull hitting the cement.
But
Boom.
this laceration is like,
well, yeah, it's gonna be a small little cut.
but his laceration was an inch, at least an inch, and deep.
Well, I want to know how the Lexus bit his arm. I know cars and
Lexus got
SUVs
teeth.
do bite; they have teeth.
Yeah.
So the Lexus, maybe they had him like a tack dog or something.
Yeah.
They released it.
Yeah.
You know, a takedown.
Yeah,
Came out,
this is-
bit his arm because. Let's be honest. Let's be real. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
You have a shirt like this on. You could hit him with anything. It's not going to cut him with blunt force trauma. It's not going to leave abrasions and scratches, especially not the tailpiece.
And listen, I don't know, but I did see a picture of the Lexus with the tail light gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they removed it for testing purposes, but if they didn't, and that tail light is completely gone, that doesn't happen. You're gonna have little pieces left in the housing.
Correct.
Right?
And the pieces that break off, they're not into. When the taillight breaks off, it doesn't break into 80 pieces. It's usually 2, 3, 5
Big
pieces,
chunks.
big chunks, and then a couple little ones. That's it. The pictures that I've seen that they've brought together, it looks like somebody sat there and just smashed it with a hammer or something because there's teeny little pieces all over. I've never seen that in an accident. Teeny millions of pieces all over. No, it's big pieces.
Yeah.
And it's not going to cut you unless it's already jagged and edged. It's not going to cut. The skin doesn't cause scratches.
It's not going to cause punctures. It's going to cause lacerations.
Yes. And bruising, if that, because it's going to be more blunt force trauma.
Yeah.
So you get some bruising.
Yeah.
And if the car hit him like this, the scratches that I saw were right above the taillight, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if the taillight is, let's say this is the car, right? So here's the taillight. If she hits me here, my arm's out like this, the glass is going to go
to the window,
to the middle of the SUV.
Yeah.
It's not going to be right here. The glass is going to go bang. It's going to hit more towards the center of the car.
Yeah.
Not going to be on the edge.
Yeah. There ain't going to be no glass on the bumper either.
When accidents happen, weird stuff can happen. I mean, weird stuff.
The physics of an accident is bizarre.
Yeah. We've all seen pictures of a car that's on top of a house.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, how did that even happen?
Yeah.
And then when you see it, whoosh, it happens. So weird stuff happens.
Yeah.
So. All right, Steve. Hit it, baby.
If his arm, elbow, brunt with that entire impact, how do you account for the fact that he didn't suffer a broken bone?
What is it?
No broken bones.
I don't know.
How do you account for the fact that he didn't have a fracture?
Objection.
Sustained.
He didn't. Did he have any broken bones?
He didn't even have a bruise on the arm.
Objection.
That's sustained too.
Your approach.
Yes.
Yeah. His approach is going, what the frig, lady?
I think we're almost done, right?
You going to let me ask anything? Jeez.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, this guy's in over his head. You know what? I almost feel bad for him.
He got told
I almost feel bad for him. He's in over his head. And he got told the story. This is what we need you to do. That's what we believe. This is what we need you to do. Get it done.
Dirty from the top down, son.
Mm-hmm. Get it done. And he's just playing it by the book. And that's why he can't answer the questions. That's why he doesn't know all the information. Yeah. He's stuttering. He's nervous. He's lying because he's constantly lying and having to cover.
Well,
that's hard. I can't even imagine having to sit in court and try to remember everything. Just tell the truth, man. Just tell the truth.
When they hesitate, that's them getting themselves some time to get their story straight. What do you mean? What cup? That's stuff that he's saying to get his story straight.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like it's a stall tactic, because then he's got to remember, all right, what did I do here? What did I say here? That's why none of these guys can remember what they said. Yeah. If I was at a grand jury and I said something, like say the Ross shooting, if you asked me 2 months later to say, did you say that? Yeah. Yep. Because I remember what I said. Because it's the truth. What did you do? Very simple.
So I'm sorry again, Trooper. If I could ask you, what is the purpose of a bumper on a vehicle?
It's there to help absorb energy from a collision.
And with reference to the scratches that you were asked about on the vehicle on sort of the right rear quarter panel, what, if any, relationship does bumpers or their interaction have, to your opinion, as it relates to that?
Sorry, say it again.
What?
What you just testified about bumpers, you were also asked some questions about scratches on the right rear quarter panel of the vehicle, correct?
Correct.
And what, if any, relationship does the bumpers on the vehicle and sort of their intended purpose have with relation to the scratches that you observed?
So the bumpers on the side was more of this wasn't more of a direct on hit with the bumper. It was more of the side scraping of the paint of the bumper.
Now, the presence of Mr. O'Keefe's DNA on the taillight, is that consistent with a pedestrian collision?
Yes.
Now, as far as the glass not matching, are you aware that the lab's actual findings were that the glass on the bumper and the glass on the roadway was just not found to be consistent with each other? Is that your understanding? If you know.
I don't know.
And were you also aware that the lab's finding was that the glass on the bumper was consistent with the glass on the roadway?
I'm not aware what the lab said.
Why would you read the lab
Now,
report?
in order to construct
Not a big deal.
your diagrams, your testimony, I believe, was that you had used the CERT diagrams in the process of that. Is that correct?
Yes.
And if I could turn back to that 12629B, the mileage from the tech stream data.
Yes.
The 3-point turn that you observed and the 24.2 mile per hour straight line for approximately 62 feet. How far apart time-wise within that particular triggering event were those two incidents?
8 minutes.
And as far as any of the other tech stream data that you observed, was there any other triggering event that included a 3-point turn?
No.
Now, as far as the defendant's path of travel, is it your understanding that that was obtained from a multitude of different witnesses?
Yes.
Now, with reference to, you were asked some questions about the defendant's cell phone. As far as GPS locations, were you aware that the defendant's cell phone wasn't able to be accessed until by law enforcement until 2023?
Sustained.
Were you aware that the defendant's cell phone had GPS locations turned off on the defendant's cell phone?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
I was not aware.
Now, as far as placing the vehicle during that triggering event, 12629B, did you use key cycles to put it back at that location at that time?
No, I didn't.
What did you use?
I looked at the odometer mileage
And why would you look at the odometer mileage over the key cycles?
because I can physically see the odometer mileage at the vehicle at the time of my inspection.
Easy way out.
And why would,
Why? Because it's right
in your
there.
opinion, as far as that is concerned, sort of backtracking to a specific location, which is more reliable, the odometer or the key cycles?
I would say the odometer mileage.
And why is that?
Like I said, you can physically see it when you turn the car, and I know that's the odometer mileage that it's reading on the dashboard.
And every key cycle, is that necessarily recorded within the tech stream data?
No,
And why not, sir?
it only records stuff that related to the triggers.
They don't what?
They only record stuff that is related to the triggers.
Okay, thank you.
Triggers on what?
As far as counsel's hypothetical with regard to the key cycles, is it your opinion that that hypothetical is accurate or inaccurate?
Inaccurate,
And why so?
because it also be you also add the odometer mileage onto the key cycle, so those key cycles and odometer mileage are on the same trigger, and plus the data seems consistent with everything else that's going on with this collision.
Dude, you're just making stuff
Fair to
up
say
now,
that you were
man.
not outside of 34 Fairview Road on January 29th, sometime around 12:20 to 12:30 a.m. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so fair to say that you don't know exactly how Mr. O'Keefe and/or Glass or anything that he was holding interacted with the defendant's vehicle at that time?
Objection.
I'll allow it. Is that true?
I do not.
And so based on your training and experience and the number of pedestrian crashes that you've investigated, Again, if you could, one last time, just describe to the jury how you believe the vehicle interacted with Mr. O'Keefe and why.
Objection.
Sustained. It's asked and answered.
With reference to what you've described as far as the interaction between Mr. O'Keefe and the vehicle, why is that your opinion?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
Based on the evidence from the vehicle, based on the injuries to John O'Keefe, the tail light appears to be broken and it's sharp plastic pieces that could have ripped his arm, and also the dent with the scratches above it is consistent with a hand holding a glass and the glass on top smashing on the vehicle and the hand smashing the vehicle. You can see there's a line between scratches and a dent there.
Well, at least he got his hand is going to be farther with the glass. At least he got that right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Trooper Paul.
Yeah, just Romeo.
You didn't redeem yourself, but you got one thing right so far.
Very briefly, I just want to make sure I clear something up about the key cycles. You're not suggesting that every key cycle in the history of cars on this page, correct?
That's correct.
I'm pulling up Exhibit 591.
Okay.
But only when they're triggered.
That indicates key cycles that have triggering events, correct?
Yes.
Triggering events are something that the manufacturer includes in basically a list of items that will be a triggering event, correct?
Yes.
It's a list of items basically for mechanics to figure out if there's some unusual driving or unusual event with the vehicle, correct?
Yes.
But the key cycles go in order. They're numerical, 1 through whatever.
Correct.
And the hypothetical that I gave you on cross-examination, with those driving incidents, each one of those would represent a key cycle, correct?
So in your hypothetical, I mean, assume that it should create a key cycle, but that you can't just say that key cycle is from that, because I didn't just use key cycles. I used the odometer mileage on top of it. So you have to have key cycle and odometer.
Right. Interestingly, though, when you testified on direct examination, you said your analysis, this was on Friday, before the weekend. By the way, over the weekend, did you watch anything on, I don't know, YouTube or any social media?
No.
Nothing?
No.
No. Did you have any conversations with Mr. Lally about these key cycles and problems?
No.
Did you have any conversations with anybody about the issues with the key cycles?
No.
Did you realize at some point between Friday and today that I was probably going to ask you some questions about key cycles?
Objection.
Did you realize that yourself?
I assumed you would ask me loads of information.
So on Friday, you didn't mention that your analysis was based on mileage, did you?
Objection.
Sustained.
On Friday, did you mention that your analysis was predicated on mileage?
Objection.
I'll see you at sidebar.
He's getting twisted like a pretzel, my boy.
Wow. They're really pounding these key cycles, but it seems
for a purpose.
And it seems very simple. They go in order, numerical order. And Mr. Jackson is clearly just telling this guy, look, man, this is how they line up. You're telling me that they don't line up because of maybe just the odometer reading, but they all line up. They're numerical.
Yeah.
So that's how they can track it. And when they got to where they moved it, he said, well, that didn't trigger a key cycle. Why wouldn't it? You started the car.
Yeah.
You pulled it onto the flatbed. You pulled it off the flatbed into the sally port.
Yeah.
That's going to be 2 key cycles, right? 1164 and 1163 and 1164.
Yep, that's when he started his
That's
testing.
when, 1164 is when Proctor got in the car.
Yeah.
Right? And now everything after that's all they're saying is all messed up.
Shenanigans.
Yeah. Yeah, that's unfortunate. But this dude is no expert. He's probably been to like 4, 5 crashes in his.
That would be interesting to
his
find
career.
out how many.
May I inquire?
Yes.
But he's from Boston, right? Is he a cop?
Indicated pretty clearly
Trooper.
that your analysis was based on
He's not a cop.
starting at 1164 when you started your testing, and 1162, which was the key cycle you claimed on Friday was at 34 Fairview.
It wasn't based on it. That's how I describe it. I said key cycles. I based it on they were close within proximity to each other, but I've always said it's key cycles and odometer mileage, plus all the information within the triggers themselves. So it wasn't just one of the other.
And you said on Friday that once you started your testing at 1164, it was 2 cycles earlier that had the triggering events, meaning 1162, that you claimed were at 34 Fairview.
Yes.
But in the hypothetical, if there were 4 events, 4 key cycle events between 1164 and 1159, it could not have occurred at 1162, correct? 34 Fairview, in my hypothetical.
In your hypothetical, if it recorded a key cycle, then your hypothetical is correct.
Right. And last question, if you got the route of travel incorrect, if your presumption of the route of travel was incorrect on that vehicle in the days earlier, then your mileage would be incorrect also, correct?
Mileage from what? The odometer or from?
The odometer reading.
The odometer reading is odometer reading. It's 36.
My point is, your analysis that's based on the odometer reading,
Yes,
36 miles here, 12 miles there, 2 miles here, 5 miles there.
Off, man.
If you got the route of travel wrong and the route of travel was different, your assumptions about the odometer readings would be incorrect as well, correct?
Yes.
So what I'm
You got the path of travel wrong.
So I purposely put down a range on my Google images shown because I couldn't tell you her definitively route of path for every single way. But I know that it's possibly a possibility that she could travel 36 miles within those locations that she traveled post leaving Fairview Road.
Or if that mileage was put on at key cycle 1162, then that would mean that the vehicle would already be in Massachusetts State Police custody, right? Into the proctor's custody.
Objection.
So that's beyond the scope.
That's all I have.
All right, Mr. Lally?
Very briefly. The range that you came up with for the defendant's path of travel, does that fit with the path of travel, the odometer reading, putting the defendant's vehicle in the area of 34 Fairview Road when it does the 3-point turn, and then 8 minutes later when it travels 24.2 miles per hour in a straight line in reverse for approximately 62 feet?
Yes.
Nothing further.
Does it fit our narrative? Yes. That's what he did. Does it fit our narrative? Yeah.
Do you have a question, Kelly?
Yeah, I have a lot of questions. Number 1, how dare you?
Wow.
So let me say this, if you're in Idaho, winter,
Right.
6 months of the year, snow,
Yeah.
your tire's going to spend more than normal.
Yeah, of course.
You're going to add 1 or 2 or 3 miles, right?
Yeah.
So it's possible that she,
By miles, but whatever. I mean,
whatever,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of variations here.
There's a lot of variables.
The first thing is they didn't do a very good job from the get-go,
You think?
I think.
I don't think they did a very good job
No.
either. Yeah.
No.
I mean, this is. I can see why everybody wanted us to do Trooper Paul. That was a shit show.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he's a cop.
I was stressed, dude. I was stressed. He was making me angry.
I'm surprised he's a cop, and I know he's not an. I'm sorry. My opinion, he is not an expert in reconstructing crashes.
No.
I'm sorry, he's not.
No.
I mean, maybe he took some classes. I'm sure he did, and I'm sure he can maybe do something, a little fender bender out on the street at 5 miles an hour, something like this. But for them calling him in like this,
You got to roll the dogs out when it comes to something like this, dude.
yeah,
The
and
big boys.
yeah. Well,
But there's an agenda there, man. There is obviously an agenda. That's what I can see.
well,
right?
And when you dig deeper into the case, right, you got the dog bites, right? You got Brian Albert, right, with the house, right? They redid the basement, painted it.
Yeah.
They rehoused the dog and sold the house.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. And then you got ATF agent Higgins, who's throwing different pieces of his phone all over in different trash cans, because that's completely normal. I mean, I do that
I do it all the time.
Yeah, that's normal.
The owner of the house, what's his name?
Brian Albert.
Okay. He had a TV series, Brooklyn's Finest or something like that.
Right.
Dude, you look at him and you know he's not right, dude. He's dirty. You can tell from the get-go he's dirty.
Yeah. Well,
So,
and you got Colin Albert with the bloody knuckles. You know what I mean?
yeah.
John McKeith, no injuries from the head down. And what about Jen McCabe? Man, I watched about 2 minutes of her cross-examination. I don't know if we're going to do her or not, because
It's up to you guys.
yeah, it's up to you guys. She's not a cop. But man, is she bitchy.
Yeah.
And then how about with her, oh, Trooper Proctor, I should buy you a gift after this.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, just get one for my wife.
Yeah.
Oh, why were you going to get somebody a gift?
That's a tight circle.
Maybe because they helped you with the whole murder thing. Maybe, possibly.
Almost got away with it.
No one's ever offered me a gift.
Nope.
I never got any gifts.
No. It's illegal for us to give gifts. Bribes.
So buying her a gift or him a gift.
So I'd like to know what our viewers want us to do next.
What do you want us to do next? We could do ATF Higgins or the Albert family. We could start going right down the line. You let us know. Yeah. We hope you enjoyed this.
We appreciate you guys.
This was horrifying. This was a shit show. And I'm glad we did it.
Yeah.
So leave your comments below. If you have any questions, hit us up on ask@LVCopsTV. We'll hit you right back here live on air. Yep. Video or audio. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, subscribe, share. We're over our subs. So again, thank you all. It's a big relief for us.
Wow.
And we can slowly just keep growing. But we hope you enjoy our stuff.
We made $5 and then he bought us a water and money's gone.
Money's gone. Yeah.
So we're broke again.
Thanks for watching.
And those for still serving, have a safe tour duty, please.
And make a difference in someone's life. Stay classy, Las Vegas.
Always.
Cheers.
Cheers to you, buddy.
1 Sam 5 and 1 Sam 6, copy of 425 call.
Copy. 1 Sam 5 en route.
1 Sam 6, copy, en route.